Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
At the same time, Duan Ling Tian opened the room door and looked at the old man outside with an excited expression. "It seems to be Phoenix Wing Herb," said Luo Rong. "Phoenix Wing Herb?" Duan Ling Tian's gaze lit up abruptly, and he asked with an anxious tone, "Where's the Phoenix Wing Herb now?" Luo Rong said, "It's the Imperial City's Sima clan's second elder that personally came over to tell me of it. He said he'd seen the Phoenix Wing Herb in the Blackwind Ridge. Presently, he has already rushed to Blackwind Ridge, and he'd bring news back by tomorrow." Duan Ling Tian nodded when he heard Luo Rong. "Master, besides telling you of this matter, I came to look for you because I want to ask you to guide me slightly." When Luo Rong spoke up to hear, he looked at Duan Ling Tian with an expression of anticipation. "What?" Duan Ling Tian was confused. "The Sima clan's second elder is skilled in using whips. I've never refined a whip in the past, and I don't know how to do it." Luo Rong was slightly embarrassed. Duan Ling Tian smiled lightly. "It's only a small matter." Under Duan Ling Tian's guidance, Luo Rong quickly completed the refinement of the first whip-type spirit weapon in his entire lifetime, and it was able to provide an amplification of 49%. When he found out that there was news about the Phoenix Wing Herb, Duan Ling Tian was rather excited, and he didn't continue cultivating. Instead, he went around the Imperial City with Su Li. Another day passed. Duan Ling Tian attained his wish of obtaining the Phoenix Wing Herb. The Phoenix Wind Herb was completely jade green, and the corners of its leaves were extremely alike to the wings of the divine beast, Phoenix. According to the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor, Duan Ling Tian could confirm that this was a Phoenix Wing Herb indeed. "Now that I've obtained the Phoenix Wing Herb, only the ageless root remains. As for the other medicinal materials, I'll be able to easily gather them." Duan Ling Tian was slightly excited in his heart. So long as he found that ageless root, he would be able to refine the rebirth pill, and the rebirth pill would be a turning point for him. "Once I consume the rebirth pill, my cultivation might be able to surpass Su Li in one go." Duan Ling Tian was full of confidence towards the medicinal strength of the rebirth pill. After all, even the Rebirth Martial Emperor of all those years ago, whose cultivation had stepped into the Martial Emperor stage, had broken through 3 levels after he completely absorbed the medicinal strength of the rebirth pill. Of course, the absorption of the rebirth pill's medicinal strength required a process. All those years ago, the Rebirth Martial Emperor had spent many years to completely absorb the rebirth pill's medicinal strength. With my current cultivation, completely absorbing the rebirth pill's medicinal strength would probably require over 10 years, or even longer, Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. But no matter what, the rebirth pill was an unexpected, delightful thing. It was sufficient to assist him to advance by leaps and bounds with a single boost. Ageless root. Ageless root. Once I arrive at the Darkstone Empire, I must find a way to acquire the ageless root. Duan Ling Tian's gaze was exceedingly firm. After he obtained the Phoenix Wing Herb, Duan Ling Tian exerted himself even more when he cultivated. Another day passed. Dawn. Duan Ling Tian, Luo Zhan, and Su Li left the Weapons Craftsman Guild together. As for Chen Xiaoshui, he'd run off to the Spring Night House during these few days. According to what he said, they were about to leave and he wanted to properly enjoy himself for a few days. The 3 of them sat within a carriage and headed towards the Imperial Palace. Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian's group of 3 were just intending to walk into the Imperial Palace when they heard a familiar voice sound out from behind. Duan Ling Tian was the first to turn around, and the person that had come was precisely Chen Xiaoshui. "Aren't you afraid of emptying out your entire body's strength?" Luo Zhan shook his head and smiled. "Don't worry, my body is extremely well." Chen Xiaoshui spoke complacently. "Let's go." Duan Ling Tian called out to Chen Xiaoshui before the 4 of them walked together into the Imperial Palace. After a short moment, Duan Ling Tian's group of 4 gathered with Long Yun under the lead of the Imperial Palace's guards. When facing Duan Ling Tian's group of 4, Long Yun revealed strong hostility towards Duan Ling Tian and Su Li. Duan Ling Tian and Su Li could be said to be his lifelong enemies. Duan Ling Tian had defeated him twice, and caused him to be extremely humiliated. Su was the person his master wanted him to defeat and was the motivation for him to ceaselessly improve. In this lifetime of his, he was bound to make great efforts to improve while making surpassing these two people his objective. Duan Ling Tian, Su Li, the day will come when I'll trample on the both of you beneath my feet. Long Yun silently vowed in his heart. Duan Ling Tian naturally noticed Long Yun's hostility, but he didn't pay any attention to it. He's utterly not taken Long Yun seriously, not in the past and not now. As for Su Li, he glanced coldly and indifferently at Long Yun before withdrawing his gaze, and then he closed his eyes to rest. Whoosh, whoosh. Two figures, one after the other, appeared before Duan Ling Tian's group of 5. One was an old man, the other a middle-aged man in luxurious clothes. Vice Dean Qi. Duan Ling Tian lightly smiled and nodded towards the old man. The old man was precisely the vice dean of the former Dragon and Phoenix Academy, Qi Ming. As for the middle-aged man in luxurious clothes, Duan Ling Tian paid no attention to him. Vice Dean Qi, Prince Sheng. But Duan Ling Tian paying no attention to him didn't mean that the others would pay no attention to him. The middle-aged man in luxurious clothes was precisely Prince Sheng. When he saw Duan Ling Tian disregard him, Prince Sheng's face slightly sank, and icy coldness was emitted from his eyes. After a short moment, the coldness dispersed, and Prince Sheng's expression returned to calm. This Prince Sheng isn't simple. Duan Ling Tian noticed the changes in Prince Sheng's expression, and his heart jerked as he couldn't help but arouse slight vigilance in his heart. Very good, everyone is here. After Qi Ming nodded to Duan Ling Tian, he glanced indifferently at the others. This trip to the Darkstone Empire will be led by me and Prince Sheng. Let's go. As soon as Qi Ming finished speaking, he soared up into the sky. Duan Ling Tian's group of 5 followed up to him. The 7 figures transformed into 7 flowing lights in the blink of an eye, and they left the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Imperial Palace. They headed all the way north, and that was precisely the direction towards the Darkstone Empire. At this time, the experts of the Azure Forest Trisect ought to have already departed. Prince Sheng's eyes squinted as he thought to himself. This time, he pleaded on his behalf to the Emperor to head to the Darkstone Empire with Qi Ming and the others, whereas the reason he took this arduous errand was naturally not so simple. He did all this only for the sake of Duan Ling Tian's life. He couldn't eat and sleep in peace until Duan Ling Tian died. He'd already come to an agreement with the 3 great sect leaders of the Azure Forest Trisect that he would join forces with the experts the Azure Forest Trisect sent over to obliterate Duan Ling Tian. Time slowly passed by. Half a month later, when he saw the border between the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom and the Darkstone Empire close before his eyes, Prince Sheng's face sank. Why haven't those Azure Forest Trisect members arrived? Presently, the time he'd agreed upon with the 3 great sect leaders of the Azure Forest Trisect had passed long ago, but the experts of the Azure Forest Trisect still hadn't arrived. Prince Sheng realized that he might have been stood up by the 3 great sect leaders of the Azure Forest Trisect. Darkstone Empire. As he looked at the territory ahead that belonged to the Darkstone Empire, Duan Ling Tian's eyes revealed slight reminiscence. He'd once come to the Darkstone Empire a few years ago, and he'd even stayed in the Darkstone Empire for a period of time. Azure Forest Trisect's branch sect. The location of the former demonic Lotus Blade sect. Today, the demonic Lotus Gorge was in complete chaos as blood flowed into rivers. That demon beast has come again. Suddenly, an Azure Forest Trisect disciple raised his head to look into the sky, and he shouted out in terror. Right at the moment, the black dot high above in the sky became bigger and bigger. In the end, it transformed into a rock. The rock had an enormous body, and when it spread out its wings, they were like clouds that covered the sky. Its eyes emitted a frightful sheen and didn't contain the slightest emotion. Whoosh! The rock transformed into a bolt of lightning that plunged down to descend within the gorge, and everywhere it passed, shrill cries rose and fell. Blood sprayed into the sky and gushed out to taint the entire ground. Flee! Flee! Don't kill me! Don't kill me! No! No! Waves of grieved and miserably shrill cries sounded out without end. For a time, the entire gorge seemed to have transformed into a hell on earth. The rock dived down as it moved, and its sharp claws were covered in fresh blood, but its eyes reveal frightful cold lights that caused a chill to run down one's spine. Sinful animal, don't think of fleeing. Suddenly, a grim shout sounded out from high above in the sky as numerous figures tore through the sky and chased after the rock that was slaughtering within the gorge. When they looked at the corpses that covered the ground of the gorge, the figures all had extremely unsightly expressions. When the rock saw the arrived of these people, it lightly turned around to glance at these people in disdain. Whoosh! Subsequently, the rock shot into the sky, then it flapped its wing before vanishing in the horizon in the blink of an eye, and it caused the people chasing behind to be so far behind they were unable to catch up. Damn it! This rock is even more terrifying than the seven-star sword sect's Qinxian. The sect leader of the former Origin Convergence sect, Lu Yuan, looked at the direction the rock left with an extremely unsightly expression. He didn't chase the rock because he knew he was unable to chase up to it. The rock was the sect-guarding demon beast of the former seven-star sword sect, and in terms of speed, there were very few people who could compare to it. This rock relies on its sixth-level wine concept coupled with its rock kind being adept in speed. A sixth-level void initiation stage martial artist had to have comprehended seventh-level wind concept or the eighth level of any other concept of nature to catch up to it. The sect leader of the former demonic Lotus Blade sect had eyes that were filled with icy coldness. No one in our Azure Forest Trisect has a speed that's able to chase up to this rock. If this continues, then the disciples of our Azure Forest Trisect would sooner or later be completely slaughtered by him. The sect leader of the former Snow Moon sect, Shui Rue, had an extremely gloomy expression. The only thing we can do now is protect our sect's disciples properly. We can't go chase after it again. Otherwise, if it turns around again, the blood of our Azure Forest Trisect disciples will flow into rivers once again. Lu Yuan's eyes flickered with cold lights. Although he was aggrieved in his heart, he had no way to solve it. If someone in our Azure Forest Trisect is able to advance into the seventh level of the Void Initiation stage, then why would we need to be afraid of this rock? When we annihilated the seven-star sword sect on that day, we ought to have killed this rock at the first possible moment. In that way, we wouldn't have fallen to such a passive situation like we're in now. The expressions of the other guardian elders of the Azure Forest Trisect were extremely unsightly as well. I remember now. Suddenly, a shocked shout sounded out from within the gorge. An Azure Forest Trisect disciple's eyes revealed an expression of terror as he roared with a ghastly pale face. I've seen that rock before. I've seen that rock. It's the sect-guarding demon beast of the seven-star sword sect. What? The words of this disciple caused the other disciples of the Azure Forest Trisect to go pale. The sect-guarding demon beast of the seven-star sword sect? Are you sure? Many Azure Forest Trisect disciples looked towards the person that shouted out in shock. Of course, I was there on that day when the seven-star sword sect was annihilated by our Azure Forest Trisect. I'm absolutely not wrong. The latter hurriedly nodded as his eyes emitted slight terror. I still remember that Duanling Tian was saved by it that day. Its speed is something practically no one in our Azure Forest Trisect is able to compare to. Earlier, the three great sect leaders and the few guardian elders went to chase it, yet they didn't even touch a feather on its back. Not only that, they even allowed it to kill so many of our fellow disciples. The bodies of some of the Azure Forest Trisect disciples started to tremble lightly. I want to leave the sect. I don't want to be an Azure Forest Trisect disciple anymore. I want to leave the sect as well. Instantly, the group of Azure Forest Trisect disciples within the gorge were stirred, and all of them wanted to leave the Azure Forest Trisect. As far as they were concerned, so long as they clearly cast aside their relationship with the Azure Forest Trisect, they wouldn't have to worry about that rock coming to slaughter them anymore. The speed of that rock was something no one in the Azure Forest Trisect could compare to. In other words, if the rock wanted to kill them, it would simply be as if it was walking into an unguarded place. The commotion within the gorge caused the expression of the three great sect leaders to become grim. They never expected that the surviving rock of the Seven-Star Sword sect would actually cause such great panic amongst their Azure Forest Trisect disciples. In next to no time, the three of them descended from the sky and went to reassure the disciples. They could imagine that if they did nothing, it wouldn't be long before only they and the group of elders would remain in the Azure Forest Trisect. Although their strengths were ordinary, these Azure Forest Trisect disciples were the foundation and hope of the Azure Forest Trisect. The future of the Azure Forest Trisect relied on these disciples. If these disciples left completely, then the Azure Forest Trisect would surely cease to exist in the next 100 years. Because of the sudden attack of the rock, the three great sect leaders of the Azure Forest Trisect had completely tossed the agreement between them and Prince Sheng to the back of their minds. Right now, their homes were burning, and they were busy putting out the fire. How could they possibly have the mind to care about anything else? Darkstone Empire. Duan Ling Tian's group flashed past in the sky above Phoenix Nest City. Not long after, they arrived nearby the inscription formation that enveloped the former Soul Cleanse pool. Zhao Ming. When Duan Ling Tian thought of the two old men that were trapped within the inscription formation, his face couldn't help but sink, and his eyes revealed icy cold, killing intent. So long as he possessed sufficient strength, he would surely enter the inscription formation once again and cruelly kill Zhao Ming. In the past, he didn't know Zhao Ming's actions when the Seven-Star Sword sect was annihilated, so he didn't utterly detest Zhao Ming so much. But now, when he found out that Zhao Ming was the culprit of the deaths of Elder Xian and the sect leader, Linghu Jinhong, Duan Ling Tian wished for nothing more than to tear Zhao Ming into pieces. Those Azure Forest Trisect members actually dared deceive me. Prince Sheng, who wore luxurious clothes, had a livid expression. He finally realized that it was impossible that the members of the Azure Forest Trisect were coming. Amongst Duan Ling Tian's group, the strengths of the five young men were only ordinary, but Qi Ming and Prince Sheng were both existences at the Void Initiation stage. Especially Qi Ming, his cultivation was at the 6th level of the Void Initiation stage, and he even had a grade 4 spirit weapon to rely on. So it was extremely peaceful all along the way. For a martial artist at the Void Initiation stage, heading to the Darkstone Empire's Imperial City from the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's Imperial City couldn't be considered to be far. However, Qi Ming and Prince Sheng had to take care of the few young men. So their group only arrived nearby the Darkstone Empire's Imperial Kingdom after 3 months of time. The Darkstone Empire's Imperial City is up ahead. Qi Ming was the first to descend from the sky, and he looked down at a little black slot far in the distance. Along with Duan Ling Tian's group moving forward, the little black spot became larger and larger. In the end, it transformed into a vast city. This city was ancient and emitted a unique aura. It was like a demon beast that lay dormant there, and it ceaselessly swallowed the streams of carriages into its stomach. The Darkstone Empire's Imperial City. Duan Ling Tian's eyes flickered with a flowing light as he looked at the city before him. He knew that this place was the place he would be staying at next. 9 months later, the Young Genius competition of the Darkstone Empire would begin. At that time, the people that were outstanding during the Young Genius competition would obtain the qualification to head towards the Darkhan dynasty to compete with the young geniuses of the dynasty and the various empires. In the Darkhan dynasty, the selection for the people who would participate in the martial competition of the 10 dynasties would be decided, and then they would directly participate in the martial competition. Supposedly, the martial competition of the 10 dynasties was held by the formidable powers of the foreign lands. Those people that were outstanding in the martial competition of the 10 dynasties would presumably acquire the favor of those formidable powers. That power will be my current objective. I'll rely on it as my jumping board to enter the foreign lands, and then I'll wait for an opportunity to withdraw the great store of treasures the Rebirth Martial Emperor left behind during his second lifetime. Duan Ling Tian made a plan for his future. Before this, I must become eminent in the Darkhan dynasty and seize the qualification to participate in the martial competition. Otherwise, everything would be in vain no matter how much I think about it. This was something that Duan Ling Tian was extremely clear of. Descend. Along with Qi Ming leading in descend, Duan Ling Tian and the others followed down as well, and they walked into the imperial city together with large strides. After Duan Ling Tian's group entered the imperial city and had a meal, Qi Ming went to buy a spacious courtyard. There's still 9 months of time to the Darkstone Empire's Young Genius competition. All of you will stay at the Darkstone Empire's imperial city during this period of time and cultivate properly, and strive to break through, said Qi Ming to Duan Ling Tian and the other 4. Duan Ling Tian and the others nodded in agreement. Duan Ling Tian, perhaps I'll break through to the 5th level of the void prying stage before you. Chen Xiao Shuai looked at Duan Ling Tian and smiled. We'll see. Duan Ling Tian smiled as well. In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian returned to the room Qi Ming allocated to him. Duan Ling Tian's room was in between 2 rooms. One of them was Su Li's room. The other was Qi Ming's. Vice Dean Qi is really thoughtful. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled, and his face held a slightly moved expression. He was able to discern that Qi Ming had surely intentionally allocated it like this. Presumably, Qi Ming had discerned Prince Sheng's hostility towards him since long ago. Squeak, squeak. Suddenly, the little gold mouse on Duan Ling Tian's shoulder awoke, and then she opened her pair of jade green eyes before sizing up the room before her. Big brother Ling Tian, where are we? You little fellow. We've already arrived at the imperial city of Darkstone Empire, Duan Ling Tian said with a smile. Big brother Ling Tian, I haven't eaten for so long. The little gold mouse looked at Duan Ling Tian with a pitiable expression. I didn't see you waking up when we were eating earlier. Now you're hungry? Duan Ling Tian shook his head as he walked out of the door, and then he notified Qi Ming before leaving the courtyard. Duan Ling Tian found a nearby restaurant and ordered a table of roast meat for the little gold mouse. At the courtyard, a figure was just intending to leave. Prince Sheng, an aged figure, followed closely behind the first figure like a shadow. Revered Elder Qi, Prince Sheng frowned when he saw the old man, and his expression was unsightly. He knew that the old man had perceived his intentions. He was bound to be unable to follow Duan Ling Tian and secretly deal with him. Duan Ling Tian naturally didn't know all this. After the little gold mouse was fully fed, he brought the little gold mouse to go around the nearby area before returning to the courtyard. 9 dragons wore sovereign technique, lightning WIRM form. Duan Ling Tian sat cross-legged on the bed as he cultivated silently. 1 month later. Duan Ling Tian, why are you suddenly interested in the auction held by the Darkstone Empire's imperial family? On the way, Su Li asked Duan Ling Tian, who was beside him. Su Li, don't you feel that always staying in the courtyard and cultivating is too boring? Supposedly, the auction held by the Darkstone Empire's imperial family is held every year, and there are many treasures every time. Duan Ling Tian said with a smile. Perhaps you'll be able to obtain something you require. Su Li nodded and his eyes contained slight anticipation. On the other side, Luo Zhan and Chun Xiao Shuai similarly had slight anticipation. The auction house of the Darkstone Empire's imperial family was resplendent and magnificent, and it caused Duan Ling Tian's group of 4 who had walked in to be unable to refrain from feeling shocked in their hearts. A room actually requires 100,000 gold. That Darkstone Empire's imperial family is simply robbing people. Chen Xiao Shuai couldn't help but shake his head in the room. Luo Zhan said with a smile, your heart is probably aching that if all this money was given to you to go to the Spring Night House, you would be able to use it for an extremely long period of time, right? Chen Xiao Shuai was slightly embarrassed when he was seen through. Duan Ling Tian sat at this side and silently savored the fragrant tea on the table, and his gaze passed through the wind to look towards the auction hall. Presently, the people in the auction hall grew more and more numerous. It wasn't long before the auction started. At the beginning, practically all the things auctions were spirit weapons and medicinal pills, and Duan Ling Tian didn't take a fancy to any of them. Duan Ling Tian only started bidding later on when the auction house brought out some rare materials. Before the auction ended, Duan Ling Tian had bid for many materials. So long as he took a fancy to them, he would practically directly bid and take them. Unknowingly, the gold in Duan Ling Tian's possession had reduced by an entire 100 million, and this caused Su Li and the others to be unable to help but be amazed. Duan Ling Tian. I originally thought that the person amongst us with the most money in his possession would be Luo Zhan. I never imagined that you'd concealed such wealth so deeply. Chen Xiao Shui looked at Duan Ling Tian and said with a smile, "Looks like if I don't have money in the future, I'm completely able to directly borrow money from you." "You can, but you have to pay interest." Duan Ling Tian smiled lightly. Chen Xiao Shui rolled his eyes angrily at Duan Ling Tian. Although he was surprised, Su Li didn't say anything. In the past, Duan Ling Tian had surprised people many times, and he'd long since become accustomed to it. As far as he was concerned, if anything shocking occurred around Duan Ling Tian, then it was extremely normal. As for Luo Zhan, after he was surprised, he felt it was logical and natural. Only he knew Duan Ling Tian's secret. He knew that Duan Ling Tian was a grade 4 weapons craftsman. Would a grade 4 weapons craftsman lack money? The answer was no. Luo Zhan believed that so long as Duan Ling Tian was willing to refine a grade 4 spirit weapon and put it up for auction in the auction house of the Darkstone Empire's imperial family, it would absolutely be able to be auctioned off for an astronomical figure. A grade 4 spirit weapon was something that was usually only able to be refined by the weapons craftsmen within the dynasties, and when placed in the Darkstone Empire, it was sufficient to cause a great stir. To a certain extent, a grade 4 spirit weapon was already not something that could be measured with money. If it really were to be exchanged for money, it would surely be a figure so enormous that one would be unable to imagine it. So, as far as Luo Zhan was concerned, Duan Ling Tian didn't lack money. How would Luo Zhan know that practically none of the wealth in Duan Ling Tian's possession was obtained by exchanging spirit weapons? He'd earned all this wealth with various methods. The items auctioned off by the Darkstone Empire's imperial families are truly disappointing. Duan Ling Tian looked out the window at the middle-aged man that stood there and presided over the auction, and he shook his head. Of course, the reason Duan Ling Tian thought in this way was entirely because he took no fancy to most of the rare items in the auction. For example, the grade 5 spirit weapons, the bottle of void strengthening pills with 80% purity, and the various miscellaneous things. To others, those things were treasures, but to Duan Ling Tian, they weren't worth mentioning. So long as he was willing, he would be able to refine a better grade 5 spirit weapon or voice strengthening pills with even higher purity. As for the other things, he had no need for them. When one stood at a different position, one's mentality would naturally be different. Everyone, the next thing to be auctioned off is the last item for the auction of our imperial family's auction house this time. This is a demon beast egg, and it contains a trace of the aura of advanced lightning force. The middle-aged man that presided over the auction spoke out in introduction. Presently, there was a tray in the hands of the middle-aged man. An egg the size of an infant's fist was placed upright on the tray. There was vaguely a faint violet-colored energy flickering on the surface layer of the egg. In other words, the demon beast that laid this egg is most probably an existence that has comprehended advanced lightning force. The middle-aged man continued. Advanced lightning force? Early on, when the middle-aged man mentioned the words advanced lightning force, most of the people in the auction hall couldn't help but become excited, and when they finished hearing the words of the middle-aged man, the gazes of many of them lit up. A demon beast egg laid by a demon beast that has comprehended advanced lightning force. I'm determined to obtain it. Right at this moment, a resolute and determined voice sounded out from a room in the higher floor. That would depend on if you have the wealth. A voice of disdain sounded out from another room. Since this demon beast egg carries along advanced lightning force, then in other words, it's very likely that the demon beast within the demon beast egg will grow to comprehend advanced lightning force. A voice sounded out from another room, and the voice contained slight excitement mixed within. Duan Ling Tian noticed that the guests within the numerous rooms spoke out, and they were determined to obtain this demon beast egg. What demon beast egg is that? Duan Ling Tian looked at the demon beast egg, and there was slight curiosity mixed within his gaze. Duan Ling Tian's spiritual force swept out as he wanted to determine what exactly it was. Right at this moment, Duan Ling Tian noticed another spiritual force was also investigating the demon beast egg. The strength of this spiritual force was on par with him. It was a 6th level void prying stage spiritual force as well. There's another inscription master here. Duan Ling Tian's brows raised. He was only able to notice this spiritual force, yet he had no way of knowing where it came from. I wonder if this spiritual force is from the rooms or from someone in the hall. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. But when he saw the spiritual force had no intention of making things difficult for him, Duan Ling Tian paid no attention to it. Even if that spiritual force wanted to make things difficult for him, he wasn't afraid. His spiritual force wasn't inferior to the other person. When Duan Ling Tian's spiritual force touched the demon beast egg, his eyes couldn't help but squint. It was because he noticed that the vitality within the demon beast egg was swiftly flowing out, and only a trace remained now. In this instant of time, that trace of vitality had vanished completely as well. The advanced lightning force that flickered atop the demon beast egg completely disappeared, causing the egg to become simple and ordinary. Ordinary? What's going on? This scene caused many guests that were present to be unable to help but be stunned. There were also some people with discerning gazes that cried out in surprise. This demon beast egg doesn't have any vitality already. It's already a dead egg. Dead egg. It was like a single stone that raised 1,000 ripples. A living demon beast egg had suddenly become a dead egg, and it caused everyone to be dumbstruck. It's really dead? It seems to have lost all vitality. So long as there was a trace of vitality, a demon beast egg's outer surface would have a trace of force. Exactly. If the force suddenly disappears, then there's only one possibility. The demon beast has died. A demon beast egg that was priceless is now not worth a hair. Such a pity. The auction hall was in a complete uproar. Duan Ling Tian, the demon beast within that demon beast egg, is really dead. Luo Zhan asked Duan Ling Tian curiously. He had blind confidence towards Duan Ling Tian. Subconsciously, he felt that Duan Ling Tian was capable of anything. Yes, it just died. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Just died. Su Li and Chen Xiao Shui couldn't help but be stunned when they heard this. Fortunately, it's dead now. Otherwise, if it died after someone bid and won it, then the person who bought it would have really been cheated. Chen Xiao Shui sighed with emotion. Meanwhile, the middle-aged man on the auction platform became gloomy. After a short moment, 2 old men walked up from behind the platform. After they checked the demon beast egg, both of them couldn't help but shake their heads. The final auction of the imperial family's auction house is a dead egg. This matter would surely become the joke of the imperial family's auction house. A demon beast egg that was priceless has now become a useless thing. It's truly a pity. Many people shook their heads and sighed within the auction hall, whereas the voices that sounded out from the various rooms had gone silent and didn't sound out again. Guests, the middle-aged man on the auction platform took a deep breath and said apologetically, "A slight accident has occurred on the last auction item for today. We never expected that the demon beast within it would be so weak. However, we've still decided to auction off this demon beast egg. This demon beast egg's original starting bid price was 10 million gold. Now, the starting bid will be 1 million gold. 1 million gold." The middle-aged man's words caused everyone in the auction hall to be unable to refrain from showing expressions of disdain. A dead egg, an egg of no use at all, was 1 million gold? Only an idiot would buy 2. If this demon beast egg wasn't dead, it would perhaps be able to sell for an astronomical figure. But the demon beast within it was dead now, and this demon beast egg was bound to become a useless thing. One would complain that holding on to it was cumbersome. So, would one spend 1 million gold to buy it? Presently, even Duan Ling Tian, who sat within the room, couldn't help but shake his head. He felt the imperial family's auction house wanted to earn money to the point they'd gone crazy. 1 million gold for a dead egg. Luo Zhan shook his head. Right when Su Li and Chen Xiao Shui felt that it was extremely unlikely that someone would bid. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse that stood on Duan Ling Tian's shoulder suddenly cried out, "Big brother Ling Tian." Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian heard the little gold mouse's voice. "What is it?" Duan Ling Tian asked curiously. "Big brother Ling Tian, I want that demon beast egg." The little gold mouse's gaze shot out of the window onto the hand of the middle-aged man on the auction platform. It was exactly that the demon beast egg that had already completely lost all signs of life in the hand of the middle-aged man. Little gold, the demon beast within that demon beast egg, is already dead. Duan Ling Tian feared that the little gold mouse didn't know of this fact. I know. The little gold mouse nodded like a human, then continued saying via voice transmission. Big brother Ling Tian, I want it. Duan Ling Tian noticed that the little gold mouse sprang her jade green eyes wide opened as she stared at him. The little gold mouse's gaze was filled with anticipation. All right, I'll buy it for you. Duan Ling Tian rubbed the little gold mouse's small head and had a doting expression. It was only 1 million gold. He would buy this demon beast egg and take it as buying a toy for the little fellow. 1 million gold. Instantly, Duan Ling Tian directly spoke out under the gazes of disbelief from Luo Zhan and the others. Duan Ling Tian's voice sounded out within the auction hall, and it caused everyone in the hall to be dumbstruck. After a short while, they recovered from their shock. There's really someone that's willing to spend 1 million gold to buy a demon beast egg that has lost all signs of life. Truly a rich idiot. The world of the rich isn't something we can imagine. The crowd of people whispered in discussion, and even more people couldn't help but shoot their gazes at the room Duan Ling Tian was in. But unfortunately, due to the problem of their angle, they weren't able to see anything. Is there any other guest that wants to bid? Right at this moment, the middle-aged man on the auction platform heaved a sigh of relief, and he asked in a loud voice. Someone spending 1 million gold to buy this demon beast egg that had lost all signs of life had exceeded his expectations as well. Now, he didn't think that anyone would continue bidding. He was only asking perfunctorily. If there's no guest bidding, then I'll start the count. 1 million gold going once, 1 million gold going twice, 1 million gold going thrice. Sold. The middle-aged man spoke word by word. Congratulations, guest in room number 7 for acquiring this demon beast egg for 1 million gold. The middle-aged man looked at the room Duan Ling Tian was in and spoke with a loud voice. When they saw the demon beast egg that had lost all signs of life had an owner, a wave of discussion once again arose in the auction hall. A demon beast egg that has lost all signs of life is utterly useless. I wonder who actually spent 1 million gold to buy a useless thing like this. Exactly, this demon beast egg is probably no different to an ordinary chicken egg now. There's still a difference from a chicken egg. At least, I still dare to eat a chicken egg, but if this demon beast egg entered into my possession, I'd surely throw it away directly. No matter how the people outside discussed it, Duan Ling Tian had bid and acquired that demon beast egg. Duan Ling Tian you. Luo Zhan looked at Duan Ling Tian, and they all had puzzled expressions. As far as they were concerned, Duan Ling Tian was absolutely not a rich idiot. Duan Ling Tian didn't say anything, but instead looked at the little gold mouse on his shoulder and thought to himself, what does little gold want that demon beast egg for? Knock, knock. Right at this moment, the sound of the door being knocked sounded out. A member of the auction house had sent over the demon beast egg, whereas Duan Ling Tian passed over the 1 million gold as well. Squeak, squeak. Duan Ling Tian had only just acquired the demon beast egg when the little gold mouse let out a sharp cry as she pounced over, and she swiftly seized away the demon beast egg like a thunderbolt. You little fellow, are you afraid I wouldn't give it to you? Duan Ling Tian spoke angrily as he looked at the little gold mouse that embraced the demon beast egg as if she'd obtained a precious treasure. Meanwhile, Luo Zhan, Su Li, and Chen Xiao Shuai's gazes were slightly dazed as they shot at the little gold mouse. They were extremely curious why the demon beast by Duan Ling Tian's side wanted this demon beast egg that had lost all signs of life. Not only were they curious, even Duan Ling Tian was similarly curious. He'd bid for this demon beast egg because the little gold mouse wanted it. As for what the little gold mouse wanted to do with it, that was something he had completely zero knowledge about. After the worker from the auction house received the money and left while closing the door on his way out, Duan Ling Tian's group of 4 saw to their shock. Whoosh! The little gold mouse's figure slightly enlarged, and at the same time, she grabbed onto the demon beast egg with her hand before directly shoving it into her mouth. The demon beast egg was just able to be swallowed by her. Gulp. At the instant that the little gold mouse swallowed the demon beast egg, Duan Ling Tian's group of 4 couldn't refrain from fiercely gulping down a mouthful of saliva. The questioning gazes of Luo Zhan's group of 3 had descended onto Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian laughed bitterly as he spread out his hands, and his expression was as if he didn't know anything beforehand. Little gold, you. Right when Duan Ling Tian was prepared to ask the little gold mouse why she swallowed the demon beast egg, Duan Ling Tian saw the little gold mouse had shrunk down once again, and her fluffy and chubby figure fell down before falling asleep on the table. This state she was in was exactly similar to her state after consuming the nether soul fruit. Could it be that little gold has eaten that demon beast egg like a spirit fruit? Duan Ling Tian had a strange expression. Duan Ling Tian, this jade-eyed heavenly mouse by your side is truly bizarre. Luo Zhan shook his head as he sighed with emotion. Jade-eyed heavenly mouse? Chen Xiaoshuai's eyes lit up. What a domineering name. Duan Ling Tian, where did you find this little fellow? If I have the chance, I want to get one and raise it as well. I encountered her in an auction house all those years ago. Now that I speak about it, I even spent a few million gold on her. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but recall the scene of him bidding for the little gold mouse in the Black Wind City Ma Clan auction house. Only a few million gold. Luo Zhan had an expression of jealousy and envy. Duan Ling Tian, your luck is really heaven-defying. He knew clearly of how terrifying the little gold mouse by Duan Ling Tian's side was. Although Chen Xiaoshuai didn't say anything, he looked at Duan Ling Tian with a gaze of envy. Jade-eyed heavenly mouse? Suli pondered for a short while before his gaze abruptly lit up, and then he looked at Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian, this little gold mouse by your side is a jade-eyed heavenly mouse? Are you sure? At this instant, Su Li's breathing had become heavy. Su Li, you know of the jade-eyed heavenly mouse? It was the first time that Luo Zhan had seen Su Li lose his composure like this, and he asked curiously. Chen Xiaoshuai looked over as well. Su Li muttered, if this little gold mouse is really a jade-eyed heavenly mouse, then Duan Ling Tian has really made a fortune. A jade-eyed heavenly mouse for a few million gold. Su Li, since you know of the jade-eyed heavenly mouse, then tell us about it. Luo Zhan and Chen Xiaoshuai both had curious expressions. Su Li's loss of composure allowed them to realize that the little gold mouse by Duan Ling Tian's side was extremely extraordinary. Su Li glanced at Duan Ling Tian as if he was confirming something. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Only now did Su Li look at the little gold mouse that lay on the table and had fallen asleep as he said, I once saw records related to the jade-eyed heavenly mouse in some ancient books. The jade-eyed heavenly mouse is a type of extremely formidable demon beast. When it matured, it's even able to transform into a demon and take human form. When he spoke up to hear, Su Li's voice was slightly trembling. Demon. Su Li's words caused the pupils of Chen Xiaoshuai and Luo Zhan to constrict. As long as it was able to be called a demon, then it was at least in existence at the void transformation stage. Even if it was a demon beast at the 9th level of the void interpretation stage, the demon beast didn't have the qualifications to be called a demon. Only a demon beast that has stepped into the void transformation stage and was able to take human form had the qualifications to be called a demon. The words demon had always been a synonym for expert. In Cloud Continent, every demon was in existence with shocking strength. Some formidable demons even had the chance to become a demon monarch and even a demon emperor. A demon monarch was equivalent to the martial monarch amongst human martial artists. A demon emperor was equivalent to the martial emperor amongst human martial artists. Their strengths were exceedingly high to the point it was difficult to imagine. Demon. The bloodline of a demon actually flows within the body of this jade-eyed heavenly mouse. Chen Xiaoshuai was dumbstruck. In other words, so long as it matures, it's extremely like to transform into a demon and possess a formidable strength at the void transformation stage. At this moment, Luo Zhan could almost hear his own heartbeat. Yes. Su Li nodded. For a time, Luo Zhan and Chen Xiaoshuai looked at Duan Ling Tian with eyes that had gone red. He bought a demon beast that could transform into a demon for a few million gold? Why don't we have such luck? It's all right if the two of you know this, but you must not tell anyone else. Su Li glanced at Chun Xiao Shuai and Luo Zhan with a gaze of warning. Don't worry. Luo Zhan and Chun Xiao Shuai hurriedly nodded. After they found out about the background of the jade-eyed heavenly mouse, they knew that it was a hot potato. Outsiders didn't know of the background of the little gold mouse by Duan Ling Tian's side. Otherwise, they could imagine that experts from all over would come to seize the little gold mouse from Duan Ling Tian. At that time, even the top experts in the Darkhan dynasty would probably be interested in the little gold mouse by Duan Ling Tian's side. This little gold mouse was a future demon. Its potential was so great that it was shocking. Presently, they'd already decided to bury this secret in the depths of their hearts. They wouldn't sell Duan Ling Tian out, not because of anything else, but because of Duan Ling Tian's acceptance. Earlier, they'd clearly seen the gaze Su Li specially shot at Duan Ling Tian to ask Duan Ling Tian's opinion before he spoke. They knew that if Duan Ling Tian didn't agree, it would be impossible for Su Li to speak about the background of the jade-eyed heavenly mouse. Whereas since Duan Ling Tian agreed, it was sufficient to show that Duan Ling Tian didn't take them as outsiders. Treat someone how he treats you. They weren't ungrateful bastards. Duan Ling Tian, not only is your natural talent heaven-defying, even your luck is difficult to imagine. Buying a future demon for a few million gold, even I'm slightly envious. Chen Xiaoshuai sighed. Luo Zhan nodded in deep agreement. Demon? Duan Ling Tian snickered in his heart. Actually, when he heard what Su Li said earlier, he knew that Su Li didn't understand a jade-eyed heavenly mouse. At least, his understanding was far inferior to the Rebirth Martial Emperor. In the knowledge Su Li possessed, a jade-eyed heavenly mouse was only a void transformation stage demon when it matured, whereas, according to the memories of the Rebirth Martial Emperor, once a jade-eyed heavenly mouse matured, it wouldn't just simple as an ordinary demon. In the history of Cloud Continent, the jade-eyed heavenly mouse kind had no lack of existences at the Demon Emperor stage. Their strengths were exceedingly high, and they inspired awe in all directions. We ought to leave. Duan Ling Tian took the lead to stand up before grabbing the little gold mouse in his hand and placing her on his broad shoulder, and then he called out to Luo Zhan and the others. The three of them walked shoulder to shoulder with Duan Ling Tian as they left the room at the second floor of the auction house together. This time, besides Duan Ling Tian, who bought many materials, Luo Zhan, Su Li, and Chun Xiaoshui had more or less bought some things. After their group of four left the auction house, they directly returned to the courtyard and returned to their rooms to cultivate. I wonder if any change will occur after Little Gold swallowed that demon beast egg that had lost all signs of life. I hope she'll be able to break through to the 9th level of the void prying stage. Duan Ling Tian glanced at the little gold mouse that was snored loudly as she slept, and he thought to himself, the stronger the little gold mouse's strength was, the greater help to him she would be. Once little gold awakens, I ought to go look for that ageless root. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. If I'm able to refine the rebirth pill before the young genius competition of the Darkstone Empire, then I might have the chance to break through to the void initiation stage in a short period of time and even enter the Sword Monarch's treasure. Duan Ling Tian's mood surged, and he seemed as if he'd already seen his extremely bright future. Gradually, Duan Ling Tian calmed down his heart. Cultivate. 9 dragons wore sovereign technique, lightning WIRM form. Duan Ling Tian's mind was completely immersed into his cultivation, and he forgot the time and everything else. Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, the location of the former 7-star sword sect, in the sky above W Peak. Suddenly, the clouds and mist in the horizon roiled as an enormous figure plunged downwards. Whoosh! The enormous figure had an extremely swift speed, and in the blink of an eye, it had descended onto the vast platform on the peak of W Peak. Who is it? Right at this moment, 3 old men came out from the former trade hall at the side of W Peak. They were precisely the elders of the Azure Forest Trisect. Rock. The 7-star sword sect's rock. The 3 old men looked at the rock that stared fixedly at them, and their faces went pale. Damn it! Why? Why has it appeared here? Flee! Their hearts trembled. They didn't dare arouse the thought of going against it. and they divided into 3 directions, soaring into the sky and intending to fly off into the distance. But would they be able to flee? Whoosh! Suddenly, the rock spread open its wings that covered the sky, and it abruptly flapped towards the ground. Instantly, the dust on the ground was completely swept away. Whoosh! The rock seemed to have transformed into a bolt of lightning as it swiftly flashed out to charge towards one of the old men. Even though the old man was a second-level void initiation stage martial artist with shocking speed, yet that little bit of speed of his wasn't even worth mentioning before the rock. In the blink of an eye, the rock had caught up to him. Wham! The sharp claws of the rock swept out to grab onto the old man's head before directly twisting it off. A second-level void initiation stage martial artist, dead. Whoosh! Whoosh! Subsequently, the rock repeated the same move, catching up to the other 2 old men in succession before killing them one by one. After killing the 3 old men, the rock looked at the empty Dubhe Peak with a pair of eyes that revealed a trace of grief. Whoosh! The rock spread open its wings before started to swiftly search through all over Dubhe Peak and even the surrounding 6 great sword peaks. As long as it saw an Azure Forest Trisect elder or disciples, the rock would kill all of them. The 7 great sword peaks of the 7-star sword sect were covered in blood. Whoosh! Suddenly, the rock spread out its wings and directly flew to the peak of Migres Peak as it seemed to have noticed something. The clouds and mist were shaken to dispersal everywhere the rock passed. In next to no time, a tilted tree behind the clouds and mist appeared before the eyes of the rock. Beside the tilted tree was a cave passageway that led within. The rock's eyes abruptly became fierce. Its pair of wings that were like clouds that covered the sky flickered with a frightful sheen, and wind concept raged and suffused within its origin energy. Right at this moment, light sounds of footsteps sounded out from within the cave passageway. In next to no time, a beautiful woman holding a sword walked out. Every step the beautiful woman took seemed to give rise to a wave of fierce sword energy that swept out ahead. 1 step, 2 steps. The beautiful woman had a serious expression, and the seriousness on her face only vanished into thin air when she walked out of the cave passageway, stood on the tilted tree, and saw the rock before her that circled around in the air. Elder Pong. The beautiful woman was precisely Qin Xiang, the peak master of the former 7-star sword sect's Alcade Peak. Presently, as she looked at the rock before her, Qin Xiang's delicate figure trembled, and her eyes that were like water were filled with excitement. Little girl Xiang, you've returned. After the rock saw Qin Xiang's, the fierceness in his vanished completely, and replacing it was warmth. Presently, compared to the rock that carried out a bloody slaughter on the 7 great sword peaks earlier, was simply like a completely different rock. Elder Peng, I thought. It's good that you're fine. It's good that you're fine. Qin Xiang heaved a sigh of relief, and her beautiful face was extremely excited. Elder Peng, the sect guarding revered elder of the former 7-star sword sect. An existence like this was still well and living now, and it caused Qin Xiang to see the hope for the 7-star sword sect to rise once again. Elder Peng. Meanwhile, another 2 figures walked shoulder to shoulder as they emerged from within the cave passageway. It was precisely Mou and Zheng Song. The rock nodded when he saw the 2 of them, and slight sadness was contained in the depths of his sharp eyes. Only these few people remained from the entire 7-star sword sect. Little girl Qin, it's good that all of you are alive. Presently, all the Azure Forest Trisect members on the 7 great sword sects have been completely annihilated by me. From today onwards, I'll guard the location of the 7-star sword sect and not allow an outsider to encroach on it. The rock's voice transmission was filled with domineering ruthlessness. Don't worry, Elder Peng. We'll sooner or later be able to annihilate the Azure Forest Trisect and make the sect become prosperous once again. Qin Xiang said to Elder Peng, we have Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian. A bright light flashed past the rock's sharp eyes when he heard this, and he nodded. He was similarly filled with confidence towards the young man that he'd taken out from the sect all those years ago. Time always flew by swiftly. Unknowingly, another month had passed. Squeak, squeak, Duan Ling Tian was jolted awake by a wave of cries at dawn. Little Gold, you've awoken. Duan Ling Tian woke up from his cultivation and he opened up his eyes that dazzled like the stars to stare at the little gold mouse. Squeak, squeak, the little gold mouse nodded, and her jade green eyes flickered with a cunning sheen. Eh. Duan Ling Tian's spiritual force stretched out to envelop the little gold mouse's body, and at the first possible moment, he saw through the little gold mouse's cultivation. Little gold, you didn't break through? Duan Ling Tian was slightly disappointed. He'd initially thought that after the little gold mouse swallowed the demon beast egg and fell into deep sleep, she ought to have a breakthrough. Unexpectedly, the little gold mouse's cultivation still didn't step into the 8th level of the void prying stage, and there was no change in her. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse held up her head when she heard Duan Ling Tian, and she cried out complacently. What are you complacent about? You didn't break through. Duan Ling Tian rolled his eyes angrily at the little gold mouse. Looks like the demon beast egg I bought for you that day was of no use to you at all. But since it was useless to you, then why did you sleep for a month? As he finished speaking, Duan Ling Tian was slightly speechless. Right at this moment, the little gold mouse made a move, and she flashed in circles around Duan Ling Tian. On the little gold mouse's body, strands of violet-colored energy suffused out. Whoosh! In the sky, an enormous silhouette spiraled downwards to reveal its true appearance. An ancient horned dragon silhouette. This. Duan Ling Tian's expression turned to shock when he saw the ancient horned dragon silhouette above the little gold mouse and the violet-colored energy on the little gold mouse's body. Little gold, you comprehended first-level lightning concept. Duan Ling Tian asked in surprise. Squeak. The little gold mouse replied with a squeak as she nodded her head like a chick pecking on grains. It's because of that demon beast egg? Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but recall that the demon beast egg he'd bid for in the Darkstone Empire's Imperial Family's auction house 1 month ago had emitted advanced lightning force before its vitality died out. 1 month later, Little Gold, who'd consumed that demon beast egg 1 month ago, had comprehended first-level lightning concept, and this caused Duan Ling Tian to have no choice but to link the two together. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse nodded when she heard Duan Ling Tian's question. Looks like that demon beast egg wasn't wasted. At the same time that Duan Ling Tian let out a breath of air, slight pleasant surprise appeared on his face. The first-level lightning concept Little Gold had comprehended was an entire strength of 8,000 ancient mammoths, more than the advanced lightning force she comprehended before. It was more terrifying that her cultivation breaking through. As an 8-level void prying stage demon beast, when her origin energy completely exploded out, was comparable to the strength of 1 ancient horned dragon and 1,000 ancient mammoths. Presently, when the first-level lightning concept was added on, without utilizing a spirit weapon, Little Gold was able to exert a strength of 2 ancient horned dragons and 1,000 ancient mammoths. If she utilized a spirit weapon, the spirit weapon in the little gold mouse's possession was a grade 4 spirit weapon refined by Duan Ling Tian, and it was able to amplify strength by 60%. Although this amplification could only affect her own strength, but the little gold mouse's own strength was still the strength of 1 ancient horned dragon and 1,000 ancient mammoths. In other words, the grade 4 spirit sword in her possession was able to amplify her strength by the strength of 6,600 ancient mammoth. Presently, once Little Gold went all out, she would be able to exert the strength of 2 ancient horned dragons and 7,600 ancient mammoths. There's practically no demon beast or martial artist beneath the void initiation stage that can defeat her. Even if there was one, it would be extremely rare. This was something that Duan Ling Tian firmly believed. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse transformed into a gold light and descended onto Duan Ling Tian's shoulder, and her pair of jade green eyes were filled with complacency. You little fellow, I truly never imagined that a dead egg bought for a mere 1 million gold was actually able to be transformed into such a great thing in your hands, and it assisted you in comprehending first-level lightning concept. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but sigh when he thought about what the little gold mouse went through. Little Gold, I intend to go on a long journey. Duan Ling Tian looked at the little gold mouse as he spoke. Squeak, squeak. The little gold mouse instantly became excited when she heard this. Okay. Big brother Ling Tian, where are we going? We're going to 2 cities. One of them is a comparatively special city in the Darkstone Empire. The other is a city in the Dark Han Dynasty. Duan Ling Tian spoke of his plan. In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian had gone to look for Qi Ming. Vice Dean Qi, I'll be temporarily leaving for a period of time. When he saw Qi Ming frown and seemed to want to say something, Duan Ling Tian said before him, Don't worry, Vice Dean Qi. I'll surely return, and I'll absolutely not miss the young genius competition that's being held 7 months from now. Since Duan Ling Tian had made a guarantee, it wasn't good for Qi Ming to continue persuading Duan Ling Tian. Take care, said Qi Ming. He was able to discern that Duan Ling Tian seemed to be in a hurry to leave, and Duan Ling Tian obviously had something urgent to do. Okay. Duan Ling Tian nodded before bringing along the little gold mouse and leaving directly. He even didn't bid his farewells to Luo Zhan, Su Li, and Chen Xiaoshui. Duan Ling Tian had only just left the courtyard when a person stealthily followed him. What does Duan Ling Tian want to do? A middle-aged man in luxurious clothes followed behind Duan Ling Tian, and his eyes flickered with an icy cold light. Prince Sheng. But he hadn't walked out a few steps when he heard an aged voice sound out from behind him. Instantly, the body of the middle-aged man stiffened. Revered Elder Qi, he knew that it was impossible for him to make a move against Duan Ling Tian, and at the same time that this caused him to feel slightly aggrieved, he was filled with helplessness. It's all because of that Azure Forest Trisect not keeping their promises. Otherwise, Duan Ling Tian would have died long ago. When he thought of the Azure Forest Trisect standing him up, he couldn't help but become infuriated. He was born of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's imperial family, and he possessed a high status. Who dared stand him up? What Azure Forest Trisect? You even dare to play tricks on this prince? Prince Sheng's expression was extremely gloomy. Qi Ming silently looked at Prince Sheng's face that went gloomy, yet he didn't say anything. He naturally knew of Prince Sheng's intentions. However, Prince Sheng was the younger brother of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's emperor, after all. No matter how great of a crime Prince Sheng committed, it wasn't his place to correct Prince Sheng. What he could do was to keep his eyes on Prince Sheng and protect Duan Ling Tian's safety. Whoosh. Presently, outside the imperial city of Darkstone Empire, a gold light shot into the sky and vanished in the horizon in the blink of an eye. Atop the layers of clouds, the gold light's speed doubled. Rumble. A wave of rumbling thunder that was deafening sounded out at practically the exact same moment, and the rumbling followed the gold light to head towards the northeast. The owner of the gold light was an enormous gold mouse. The gold mouse was completely fluffy and looked to be extremely cute, and on the back of this enormous gold mouse was a violet-clothed young man sitting cross-legged there. The violet-clothed young man sat there and cultivated silently. This pair of man and mouse was precisely Duan Ling Tian and the little gold mouse. After he'd notified Qi Ming, Duan Ling Tian had brought along the little gold mouse and left the Darkstone Empire's imperial city at the first possible moment. His time was limited. I only hope that the time of half a year is sufficient to allow me to find the ageless root. Duan Ling Tian only had one goal when he left the imperial city of Darkstone Empire this time. It was to find the last secondary medicinal catalyst required to refine the rebirth pill, the ageless root. So long as he found the ageless root, he would be able to successfully refine the rebirth pill. When he refined the rebirth pill, his strength would advance by leaps and bounds. Not to mention surpassing Su Li, it wasn't impossible for him to surpass even the little gold mouse. Big brother Ling Tian, where are we going now? The little gold mouse's voice transmission entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears, and the immature voice of a young girl was graceful and pleasing to the ear. Flourishing Summer City. Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. Flourishing Summer City? What is that place? The little gold mouse asked curiously. It's the largest trade city in the Darkstone Empire, and it's similar to the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's ancient city of Everlast. Supposedly, the Darkstone Empire's flourishing Summer City is even more chaotic than the ancient city of Everlast. Duan Ling Tian continued. So, If there isn't a necessity, you must not cause trouble for me. Do you understand? As Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, his tone became slightly strict. Squeak, squeak, the little gold mouse cried out and agreed. The flourishing summer city was situated in the northeast area of the Darkstone Empire. The little gold mouse flew at full speed, and her speed wasn't inferior to a first-level void initiation stage martial artist. 10 days later, Duan Ling Tian saw the outline of flourishing summer city. The city walls on all four sides of flourishing summer city were completely pitch black, like ink. The buildings within the city were practically all made of black bricks. That day, the sky was dim as dark clouds had gathered on the horizon, and it enveloped the entire flourishing summer city within it. When coupled with the flourishing summer city that was completely pitch black, it gave people a feeling as if the city might crumble under the mass of dark clouds. Big Brother Ling Tian, this is the flourishing summer city? The little gold mouse asked. Exactly. Find a place to descend to the ground outside the city, and we'll enter. Duan Ling Tian nodded before notifying the little gold mouse. Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian brought along the little gold mouse that had shrunk back to her small size and stood on his shoulder, and he walked into flourishing summer city with large strides. The flourishing summer city was extremely big, and it wasn't inferior in the slightest towards the Darkstone Empire's imperial city. After he entered the city, a large road that was unusually wide entered into his eyes. Pedestrians came and went in continuous streams, and streams of carriages flowed without end. It gave others an extremely flourishing feeling, as expected of the trade city that's second to none in the Darkstone Empire. In terms of how flourishing it is, even the imperial city is unable to compare to it. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Suddenly, whoosh, 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 whoosh. A wave of howls of the wind suddenly sounded out above Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian looked up and looked, and only now did he notice that there were many people flashing past low in the air, and their speeds were swift like a bolt of lightning. Duan Ling Tian's spiritual force silently stretched out. After a short moment, he detected the cultivations of these people. Amongst these people, most of them were existences above the 7th level of the void prying stage, and there were many existences at the void initiation stage as well. An empire isn't something an imperial kingdom can compare to. Duan Ling Tian sighed slightly with emotion. But after Duan Ling Tian arrived here, he directly headed towards the center of the city. Big Brother Ling Tian, where are we going? The little gold mouse was able to discern that Duan Ling Tian was moving with a destination in mind. You'll know soon. Duan Ling Tian didn't specify it and continued to walk forward with the little gold mouse. In the end, Duan Ling Tian stopped moving before a luxurious building at the center of flourishing summer city. Treasure Gathering Pavilion. The luxurious building before Duan Ling Tian was beautifully decorated, and it occupied the best area of flourishing summer city. With just a look, one was able to know that it wasn't a business under a normal power. Duan Ling Tian walked in with large strides. This treasure-gathering pavilion was exactly his destination when he came to flourishing summer city this time. The treasure-gathering pavilion is a business under a formidable power in the Darkhan dynasty, and there are branches in every empire under the Darkhan dynasty. Besides gathering treasures in the entire world, the treasure-gathering pavilion sold many treasures as well. The treasure-gathering pavilion disdained to gather ordinary treasures. Only spirit weapons that were grade 5 or above had the qualifications to enter the treasure-gathering pavilions. The treasure-gathering pavilion utterly took no fancy towards spirit weapons at grade 6 or below. Besides gathering and selling various treasures, the treasure-gathering pavilion also provided services like sale consignments. Of course, one could offer a reward as well. Duan Ling Tian had inquired about all this in the Darkstone Empire's imperial city. He's come here precisely for the sake of offering a reward. Guest, may I know if you need something? Duan Ling Tian had only just entered the treasure-gathering pavilion when an attendant moved over to greet him, and the attendant revealed a professional smile. Duan Ling Tian's pupils couldn't help but constrict when he glanced at the attendant. Heavens! What did I see? A mere attendant actually possesses a cultivation at the first level of the void prying stage? This treasure-gathering pavilion deserves to be called a business under a formidable power in the Darkhan dynasty. What extravagance! Duan Ling Tian's heart was greatly shocked. I want to offer a reward, said Duan Ling Tian to the attendant. Offer a reward. The attendant nodded at brought Duan Ling Tian to walk up to the second floor of the treasure-gathering pavilion and brought Duan Ling Tian to stand before a counter. Guest, what are you offering a reward for? You can register it here. Before the counter stood a middle-aged man with a calm expression, and he had an expressionless face. Fourth level void prying stage. When Duan Ling Tian's spiritual force stretched out, he noticed the middle-aged man's cultivation at the first possible moment. He never imagined that a martial artist that looked after a counter in the treasure-gathering pavilion had a cultivation that was similar to him. Guest, may I know what you want to offer a reward for? The middle-aged man looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked slowly. Ageless root. I need to offer a reward for the ageless root. Duan Ling Tian's eyes squinted as he spoke resolute and decisively. Ageless root? The middle-aged man couldn't help but be stunned when he heard Duan Ling Tian. Guest, please describe the characteristics of the thing you want. Besides that, if it's convenient, I hope that guest can leave a drawing. Obviously, the middle-aged man didn't know what the ageless root was. All right. Duan Ling Tian nodded, and after he casually spoke of the characteristics of the ageless root, he swung his hand to draw the ageless root on the white paper the middle-aged man had prepared. It's this thing. Duan Ling Tian looked at the middle-aged man and spoke slowly. Guest, what are you offering as reward? Our treasure-gathering pavilion only accepts treasures and doesn't accept money when one offers a reward for something. The middle-aged man reminded. Slap. With a raise of his hand, a 3-foot-long blade that flickered with an azure light appeared in Duan Ling Tian's hand, and he directly slapped it onto the counter. The reward is this. A spirit weapon? The middle-aged man frowned as he said, Guest, our treasure-gathering pavilion only accepts spirit weapons at grade 5 or above. How do you know it isn't a grade 5 spirit weapon? Duan Ling Tian glanced indifferently at the middle-aged man. This person didn't even take a glance at the spirit weapon he took out, yet had hastily come to a conclusion. Wasn't he rather too hasty? The middle-aged man couldn't help but be stunned when he heard this. When he looked at Duan Ling Tian for the first time, he looked down on Duan Ling Tian because of Duan Ling Tian's age. After all, as far as he was concerned, a young man like this was probably unable to take out a spirit weapon that was grade 5 or above. But when he saw Duan Ling Tian's calmness now, the middle-aged man realized that he might have underestimated the young man. The middle-aged man grabbed up the spirit sword Duan Ling Tian placed on the table, and his origin energy fused into it. Instantly, 6,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes first appeared in the sky above the middle-aged man, and then another 3,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared after it. The middle-aged man was dumbstruck when he saw this scene, and the attendant that brought Duan Ling Tian in was dumbstruck as well. Heavens! What have we seen? An amplification of 59%. The attendant fiercely gulped a mouthful of saliva, and he had a shocked expression. Grade 4 spirit sword. The middle-aged man gasped, and his gaze was completely different when he looked at Duan Ling Tian once more. According to his knowledge, a grade 4 weapons craftsman seemed to not exist in the Darkstone Empire. In other words, the grade 4 spirit sword that the young man before him took out was very likely to have been refined by a grade 4 weapon craftsman from the Darkhan dynasty. In the Darkhan dynasty, people who were able to have a grade 4 weapons craftsman refine a grade 4 spirit weapon could be counted on one's fingers. All of those existences were the leaders of the various great powers of the Darkhan dynasty. This young man isn't simple. The middle-aged man's heart shook. How about it? Can this thing be the reward? Duan Ling Tian asked indifferently, and he seemed as if he didn't notice the shock on the middle-aged man's face. Yes, of course. The middle-aged man hurriedly nodded like a chick pecking on grains. Then he recalled how he underestimated the young man earlier, and he was slightly embarrassed. That's good. Duan Ling Tian nodded. Now, help me register it. Yes. The middle-aged man didn't dare dally as he hurriedly withdrew a jade ornament. The middle of the jade ornament had an obvious crack. right when Duan Ling Tian was wondering why the middle-aged man had withdrawn a broken jade ornament. Snap! The middle-aged man pulled the jade ornament apart, keeping one half, while giving the other half to Duan Ling Tian. Guest, when you come to our treasure-gathering pavilion next, then no matter if it's to take back your grade 4 spirit sword or to take back the item you placed a reward for, you have to use this authentication token to exchange for it. The middle-aged man spoke to Duan Ling Tian with a serious expression. Duan Ling Tian nodded and received the half of the jade token and asked, "When should I come to confirm it?" "At least 3 months of time. Guest can come take it after 3 months," said the middle-aged man. Because Duan Ling Tian took out a grade 4 spirit sword, a tremendous change had occurred to the attitude he had towards Duan Ling Tian. "All right." Duan Ling Tian nodded, and then he asked, "I heard that when I offer something up as reward, your treasure-gathering pavilion required me to pay a certain amount of administration fees. I wonder how much I have to pay." The middle-aged man said with a smile, "Guest, our treasure gathering has a rule that if a guest offers a spirit weapon of grade 4 or above as a reward, then the administration fee is waived." Waived administration fee? Duan Ling Tian was stunned. There's even such a rule? With a quick thought, Duan Ling Tian came to an understanding. In the entire Darkhan dynasty, a grade 4 spirit weapon was an extremely rare item. The treasure-gathering pavilion taking care of a person that can take out a grade 4 spirit weapon to be offered up as a reward was understandable. After all, a grade 4 spirit weapon normally represented a grade 4 weapons craftsman, whereas in the entire Darkhan dynasty, a grade 4 weapons craftsman was an extremely rare existence, an existence that was even rarer than a void interpretation stage expert. "Then I'll be troubling you." Duan Ling Tian nodded, and after he put away the jade token, he brought along the little gold mouse and left hastily. After Duan Ling Tian left, the middle-aged man heaved a sigh of relief, and as he looked at the grade 4 spirit weapon, he muttered. He was willing to take out a grade 4 spirit weapon to be offered up as a reward. Exactly what is that young man's background? Subsequently, the middle-aged man raised his head to look at the nearby attendant, and he said with a low voice, "Quickly go report this to the pavilion master. Big brother Ling Tian, you directly passed over a grade 4 spirit sword to him. Aren't you afraid he will pocket it himself?" After leaving the treasure-gathering pavilion, the little gold mouse's voice transmission entered into Duan Ling Tian's ear. "Pocket it." Duan Ling Tian shook his head and smiled. In the territory of the Darkhan dynasty, this treasure-gathering pavilion is known far and wide. They still have this little bit of trustworthiness. Not to mention, even if he wants to pocket it, he would need to have the courage to do so. A grade 4 spirit sword was able to make people associate it with a grade 4 weapons craftsman, whereas all the grade 4 weapons craftsmen in the Darkhan dynasty were masters that were revered by all. There were very few people that dared offend them. So, Duan Ling Tian didn't think that the treasure-gathering pavilion dared to pocket his grade 4 spirit sword. Bang! Suddenly, a loud bang sounded out by Duan Ling Tian's ears. Duan Ling Tian glanced over and saw a large and burly man who was half naked had smashed a middle-aged man flying with a single punch. Subsequently, the burly man's arms stretched out and 2 morning stars appeared out of thin air before flashing out, and they seemed to have transformed into 2 shooting stars that smashed down towards the middle-aged man. Another loud bang sounded out, and the middle-aged man was completely devoid of any signs of life. His corpse was mangled and in an extremely tragic state. 9th level of the void prying stage? The ancient horned dragon and thousands of ancient mammoth silhouettes above the burly man caused Duan Ling Tian to be unable to refrain from looking over. Everywhere he passed, Duan Ling Tian saw a great deal of similar bloody scenes. The rumors aren't fake. This Darkstone Empire's flourishing summer city is indeed more chaotic than the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom's ancient city of Everlast. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but sigh with emotion. On his way here, he'd moved all the way towards the treasure-gathering pavilion and didn't pay attention to the surroundings. Now that he intended to leave, he paid attention to the surroundings, and it allowed him to feel the brutality of flourishing summer city. "Kid, hand over the spatial ring on your hand and the gold for a mouse. Otherwise, I'll make you die a graveless death." The city gate was right before his eyes, yet Duan Ling Tian heard an arrogant voice sound out by his ears. Subsequently, something flashed before Duan Ling Tian's eyes, and a tall and robust figure had appeared before him. This was a robust man with 3 hideous scars that were like 3 centipedes on his face, and it was extremely shocking. One of the scars even started from the left of his face, went past his nose and connected all the way to the right side of his face. The saber-scarred man held a large saber in his hand as he looked condescendingly at Duan Ling Tian, and his eyes that were large like copper gongs were filled with bloodiness and ruthlessness. Die a graveless death? Duan Ling Tian's brows raised, and a wisp of disdain appeared on the corners of his mouth. Just you. At the instant the saber-scarred man appeared, Duan Ling Tian had used his acute spiritual force to detect the man's exact cultivation at the first possible moment. 9th level of the void prying stage. Similar to the burly man who held morning stars that Duan Ling Tian had seen earlier. "Kid, you've enraged me." The saber-scarred man went completely berserk when faced with Duan Ling Tian's disdain, and he swung up the large saber in his hand before slashing it down towards Duan Ling Tian. "I'll slice you into mush." Little gold. Duan Ling Tian's face was covered in a layer of ice as he shouted out in a light voice. Instantly, a gold light flashed out from the shoulder of Duan Ling Tian, who stood there unmoving like a mountain. Swish! An ear-piercing and swift howl of the sword appeared out of thin air, and accompanying it was a light and ear-piercing thunderclap. In the next moment, the body of the saber-scarred man who was charging towards Duan Ling Tian in full fury had stopped halfway towards Duan Ling Tian, and then it staggered. You. The saber-scarred man stared at Duan Ling Tian as a wisp of terror suffused his eyes. Subsequently, a bloody hole abruptly appeared on his throat. Dazzling and resplendent fresh blood sprayed out from the bloody hole, and it flowed ceaselessly as if it wasn't worth anything. Bang! Finally, the saber-scarred man couldn't hold on any longer, and his large eyes that were like copper eyes were sprung wide open as he crashed onto the ground without a sign of life. Dead. Squeak, squeak. Right at this moment, accompanied by a wave of sharp cries, the gold light flashed past one more, and the little gold mouse had returned to Duan Ling Tian's shoulder. "Let's go." Duan Ling Tian glanced indifferently at the surrounding people that were dumbstruck, and he brought the little gold mouse as he headed out of the city. Everywhere he passed, there wasn't a single person who dared go against him. Lightning. 1st level lightning concept. Someone only recovered from their shock after Duan Ling Tian's figure vanished before their eyes, and the person exclaimed out with a low voice. "That demon beast is so terrifying. It has actually comprehended lightning concept." The crowd of people nearby the city gate of flourishing Summer City were astounded. Saberscar is really unfortunate this time. He offended an existence he shouldn't. Yeah, Saberscar's strength can be considered to be not bad. But before that mouse-type demon beast, it wasn't worth mentioning, and he didn't have the slightest strength to fight back. Many people looked at the corpse of the saber-scarred man on the ground, and they shook their heads, whereas outside flourishing Summer City, Duan Ling Tian sat onto the back of the little gold mouse that had enlarged herself, and they continued forward. "Big brother Ling Tian, where are we going now?" the little gold mouse asked. "The Darkhan Dynasty." Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed as he spoke word by word. "Darkhan Dynasty?" The little gold mouse's jade green eyes lit up when she heard this. "The Darkhan Dynasty surely has many tasty things. You little fellow, what else do you know besides eating?" The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth twitched slightly. Big brother Ling Tian, where's the Darkhan Dynasty?" the little gold mouse asked. "North." Duan Ling Tian looked towards the north as he guided the little gold mouse. Whoosh! Instantly, the little gold mouse's figure flashed out while accompanied by a wave of deafening thunderclaps to head towards the north, whereas Duan Ling Tian instead sat silently on the back of the little gold mouse, closing his eyes to cultivate. 9 dragons wore sovereign technique, lightning WRM force. Presently, my cultivation only lacks a bit before it's sufficient to break through to the 5th level of the void prying stage. Duan Ling Tian thought in his heart as the origin energy in his body flowed tirelessly. 3 days later, the origin energy in Duan Ling Tian's body roiled as they gathered together and flashed towards the final bottleneck of the 4th level of the void prying stage. Bang! The vast origin energy charged at the bottleneck, causing the bottleneck to loosen up. Still a little bit more. Duan Ling Tian didn't hesitate to gather his origin energy once more, and then charge at the bottleneck a second time. Bang! He was still unable to charge through the bottleneck on his second try. Bang! The third. Time after time, until the 9th time. Bang! Duan Ling Tian's origin energy instantly charged through the bottleneck, whereas, right at this instant, a tremendous qualitative change occurred in his origin energy. I've broken through. Duan Ling Tian abruptly opened his eyes that flickered with a flowing light, and it was like a dazzling star in the night sky, causing everything in the surroundings to be cast into the shade. 5th level of the void prying stage. Under his excitement, the origin energy on Duan Ling Tian's body skyrocketed and seemed to have transformed into an enormous ball of flames. In the sky, 7,000 lifelike ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. Big Brother Ling Tian, you've broken through? The little gold mouse's immature and naive voice that was like a young girl sounded out in Duan Ling Tian's ears in a timely manner. Yes. Duan Ling Tian lightly smiled as he nodded. Little gold, you have to work hard. Otherwise, the day will come where I'll surpass you. I surely won't allow Big Brother Ling Tian to surpass me. I'm not far away from the 9th level of the void prying stage, said the little gold mouse via voice transmission, and her tone was filled with confidence. We'll see. Duan Ling Tian's eyes slightly narrowed. He believed that so long as he was able to refine the rebirth pill, it wouldn't take long for him to surpass the little gold mouse. Unfortunately, there's only one rebirth pill, and it can't be consumed in parts. Otherwise, its medicinal strength would be reduced greatly. Duan Ling Tian sighed in his heart. Otherwise, if he let the little gold mouse consume the rebirth pill as well, he would have a great assistance by his side. With the little gold mouse's current strength, once she consumed the rebirth pill, she would surely be even more terrifying. Never mind, no matter how strong little gold is, she's only an external source of strength for me in the end. There are many times when I can only rely on myself after all. Duan Ling Tian knew clearly in his heart that only when he himself possessed an extremely formidable strength would he be able to be considered a true expert. Rebirth Pill. Ageless Root. Duan Ling Tian looked towards the direction of the Darkhan dynasty, and his mood surged. When Duan Ling Tian was heading towards the Darkhan dynasty, at the southwest area of the Darkstone Empire, a swift flowing light flashed past from the horizon and headed directly south. Above the clouds and mist, a young girl in yellow clothes who was extraordinary soared in the sky. The young girl's beautiful face that was like carved jade was sufficient to make anyone to feel tender and protective towards her. Hiss hiss, suddenly, restless sounds sounded out from beneath the young girl's sleeve. The young girl slowed down. She raised her delicate hand and grabbed out 2 little pythons from beneath her sleeve. The 2 little pythons were black and white respectively. On the body of the black-colored little python was bright gold striations that flickered with a dazzling sheen. On its head was a gold-colored horn that was extremely sharp, and it flickered with a frightful cold light. The white-colored little python, on the other hand, wasn't much different to the black-colored little python, and the only difference was that the striations on its body and horn on its head was silver in color. Hiss hiss, the 2 little pythons coiled around the young girl's white wrist. Their eyes stared ahead with concentration, and their eyes flickered with traces of human-like reminiscence. Little black, little white. The both of you are thinking about Big Brother Ling Tian again. The yellow-clothed young girl lightly rubbed the little heads of the 2 little pythons, and she asked with a light smile. The 2 little pythons lightly nodded, and their soft bodies were excited to the point they started trembling. Swish, swish. Suddenly, the 2 little pythons flashed out, transforming into 2 extremely swift bolts of lightning that headed straight towards the south. In the blink of an eye, they'd vanished before the yellow-clothed young girl. Little black, little white. Wait for me. The young girl followed up, and her graceful figure chased up to the two little pythons in the blink of an eye. Hiss hiss, the sharp eyes of the two little pythons shone, and they were anxious to return home as soon as possible. It wasn't long before the yellow-clothed young girl and the two little pythons left the territory of the Darkstone Empire and entered the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Qingnu probably wouldn't notice that we've already left for some time. I must properly have fun outside this time. The yellow-clothed young girl brought along the two little pythons and directly headed to the south of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. Not long after, 7 mountains that were like sharp sword that shot into the sky had appeared before the eyes of the young girl. Hiss hiss. Meanwhile, the two little pythons seemed as if they'd taken stimulants, and they were extremely excited. The young girl in yellow clothes stood in the sky above the 7 great sword peaks, and as she looked at the cloud and mist that roiled beneath her, her beautiful brows frowned. Whoosh! Right at this moment, an enormous figure swept away the clouds and mist to appear before the eyes of the young girl and the two little pythons. It was an extremely enormous rock that circled up from below the clouds and mist. The rock's wings that were like clouds that covered the sky were spread out, and its imposing manner shot into the sky like a rainbow. The rock's fierce eyes were staring fixedly at the yellow-clothed young girl that was high above in the sky. The yellow-clothed young girl noticed the rock and was slightly surprised. I never expected that I would be able to meet a demon beast with the bloodline of the Goldwing Grand Rock. Goldwing Grand Rock. The rock's eyes squinted when he heard the yellow-clothed young girl, and he said via voice transmission, "Little girl, who are you? You're actually able to notice that I possess the bloodline of the Goldwing Grand Rock. You wouldn't know even if I tell you." The yellow-clothed young girl's gaze passed through the clouds and mist to descend onto a sword peak at the side of the 7 great sword peaks. "All right, I'm not going to continue talking with you. I want to go look for Big Brother Ling Tian." As she spoke, the yellow-clothed young girl flashed down. Big Brother Ling Tian? The rock was stunned, and then he asked via voice transmission, "Are you talking about Duan Ling Tian? You know Big Brother Ling Tian?" The young girl stopped moving and looked at the rock. "Of course I know him, but he isn't here anymore." When the rock saw that the person that had arrived was likely to be a friend of Duan Ling Tian's, the fierceness in his eyes vanished slightly. "He isn't here anymore?" The young girl was stunned. Hiss hiss. Right at this moment, 2 little heads stuck out from beneath the young girl's sleeve, and they flicked their tongues as their eyes flickered with slight disappointment. "Do you know where Big Brother Ling Tian has gone?" The young girl asked. "I only know that he went to the Crimson Sky Kingdom more than 2 years ago," said the rock. All that he spoke of now was something he heard from Qin Xiang. As for where Duan Ling Tian had gone now, he knew nothing of it. Crimson Sky Kingdom. The young girl nodded, and then she raised her hand as she flashed out. "Little black, little white, we're going to the Crimson Sky Kingdom to look for Big Brother Ling Tian." Hiss hiss. The 2 little pythons instantly became excited and joyful. The rock's pupils constricted as he looked at the yellow-clothed young girl vanishing in the blink of an eye, and his feelings surged. A young girl around the age of 16 actually possesses such a terrifying cultivation? It caused him to be unable to help from arousing terror in his heart. What kind of people does that fellow, Duan Ling Tian, know? The rock muttered in his heart. The Darkhan dynasty was vast without bounds. Even if the little gold mouse was flying at full speed now. After they entered the Darkhan dynasty, Duan Ling Tian didn't see a trace of human habitation for a continuous 2 months of time. Everything that entered his eye was a boundless desert. We wouldn't have come to the Darkhan dynasty's southern desert, right? Duan Ling Tian sat on the back of the little gold mouse, and as he looked down at the boundless desert, he revealed a bitter smile on his face. He'd head of the southern desert of the Darkhan dynasty. Supposedly, the southern desert was a desolate place. Not only were signs of human habitation rare in the desert, even wild beasts, fierce beasts, and demon beasts were extremely rare. It could be said that the southern desert was an undeveloped region. Originally, even if it was undeveloped as the territory of the Darkhan dynasty, it ought to not be so desolate. However, in this region of the Darkhan dynasty, there was a thing that caused even nether interpretation stage experts to tremble upon hearing of it, and that was the sandstorm. A sandstorm came from nature, and its might was boundless. If it was a strong sandstorm, then even a void interpretation stage expert would be unable to flee death when encountering it. Although a void interpretation stage expert's strength wasn't weak before the force of nature, it was instead like an ant that wasn't worth mentioning. I wouldn't have really arrived at the southern desert, right? Duan Ling Tian laughed bitterly and prayed secretly. I hope that I won't encounter the sandstorm that's specific to the southern desert of the Darkhan dynasty. Little Gold, continue flying towards this direction and we'll sooner or later be able to leave this desert, said Duan Ling Tian to the little gold mouse. Squeak, squeak, the little gold mouse replied and continued flying forward swiftly. 3 days later, Duan Ling Tian originally had his eyes closed as he cultivated, yet suddenly, a wave of unusually fierce winds assaulted his face. As a martial artist who'd comprehended half-step advanced wind force, Duan Ling Tian had extremely acute intuition towards wind. This was something that the little gold mouse was unable to compare to him. It wouldn't be such a coincidence, right? Duan Ling Tian looked ahead as he muttered. Not long after, Duan Ling Tian's expression completely went grim. Because he saw at the end of the desert before him, sand had suddenly surged up to cover the sky, and it continued to flash towards the direction of him and Little Gold. The sand arrived nearby in a short moment. Meanwhile, Duan Ling Tian was able to sense a wave of terrifying fierce winds blow over, and it caused the little gold mouse to be unable to move an inch. Whoosh, whoosh. Fierce winds blew in the distance, and the sand that covered the sky was accompanied by a terrifying tornado as it swept over. Everywhere it passed, the ground on the desert cracked open, and the airflow in the sky moved swiftly and emitted a wave of ear-piercing sounds of air exploding. Little Gold, turn around. Flee. Duan Ling Tian recovered from his shock and hurriedly shouted out explosively. At practically the instant Duan Ling Tian spoke, the little gold mouse had turned around and flashed out towards where they came from. Flee. Flee. Duan Ling Tian felt the sandstorm behind him approaching, and his expression was unsightly to the extreme. At this moment, the band that held Duan Ling Tian's hair behind him had broken. His hair fluttered lightly with the wind as the violet clothes on him were swept by the wind to the point they emitted flapping sounds. The fierce winds grew closer and closer. Even if the little gold mouse moved at full speed, it seemed that it would still be difficult for her to flee from the pursuit of the sandstorm. I really am a jinx. When he thought about what he prayed for 3 days ago, Duan Ling Tian wished for nothing more than to slap himself. The good didn't come true, yet the bad did. Presently, the sandstorm behind him was practically boundless. With the little gold mouse's speed, they utterly had no place to flee. The speed of this sandstorm is probably sufficient to compare to the speed of an ordinary 4th-level void initiation stage martial artist. Perhaps, this level of sandstorm was nothing in the eyes of a void interpretation stage expert, but in the eyes of Duan Ling Tian, it was comparable to a dreadful monster that would swallow him at any moment. Little Gold, flee towards the left. Quickly, Duan Ling Tian turned around, and after he clearly saw the direction of the sandstorm with a focused gaze, he hurriedly urged the little gold mouse. Whoosh! The little gold mouse didn't hesitate in the slightest to flash towards the left. However, the speed of the sandstorm was truly too swift. The little gold mouse was utterly unable to leave the area the sandstorm swept through before it chased up to them. Big Brother Ling Tian, I've tried my best. The immature voice of the little gold mouse was filled with helplessness. I never imagined that our luck would be so good that we'd encounter the sandstorm of the Darkhan dynasty's southern desert the first time we came to the Darkhan dynasty. Duan Ling Tian smiled bitterly. Right at this moment, the sandstorm came closer and closer, and it was only a mile away from Duan Ling Tian and the little gold mouse. Whoosh! The little gold mouse flew desperately, yet in the end, they still were swallowed by the sandstorm. Little Gold, Duan Ling Tian felt a fierce wind assault him from behind, and accompanying it was sand that covered the sky that completely covered his field of vision. Not only that, at this moment, he felt he'd lost control of his entire body, and he was brought along by an extremely strong fierce wind to revolve in midair, and it caused him to feel dizzy. Duan Ling Tian's body tensed as the origin energy on his body swept up, and the half-step advanced wind force and half-step advanced lightning force suffused out after it. Even though he'd done this, Duan Ling Tian was still unable to withstand the fierce winds that enveloped him. His origin energy and force was shattered by the fierce winds swept out and hit him. Gradually, Duan Ling Tian abandoned resistance, and he allowed the sandstorm to bring him flying. Little gold. Little gold. Of course, Duan Ling Tian didn't forget about the little gold mouse. But no matter how he shouted, his voice was reversed back by the sandstorm and it entered into his ears. The little gold mouse had completely vanished. I hope little gold is fine, Duan Ling Tian said in his heart. Time slowly passed by. Duan Ling Tian didn't know how long had passed, as he didn't have the mood to count the time. Presently, he was swept flying by the sandstorm, and he could only use his half-step advanced wind force and fuse it into the fierce winds of the sandstorm to search for a way to conform with the winds. The outcome of doing this was that it allowed Duan Ling Tian to escape disaster and not be minced by the sandstorm. Little Gold's strength far surpasses mine, and she has even comprehended first-level lightning concept. She ought to be fine. As he felt the sandstorm was ceaselessly weakening, Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. When he thought about this, Duan Ling Tian's heart stopped worrying, and he wasn't so irritable as before. After he stopped worrying, Duan Ling Tian started to observe the sandstorm. The sandstorm was mainly formed by the sweeping fierce winds that covered the sky, and the sand within it had only arisen along with the wind. Its essence was the wind. The fierce wind swept and slapped onto Duan Ling Tian's tattered clothes and slapped onto his face. Duan Ling Tian's, whose eyes were closed and allowed the fierce winds to take him flying, had gradually seemed to have fused into the fierce winds. Wind. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian's comprehension towards wind force transformed. Duan Ling Tian's mind had completely fused into wind force, and he's completely forgotten about the outside world. Wind is sufficient to sweep through everything, just like the fierce wind in this sandstorm that's strong to the extreme. Even a void interpretation stage expert or a void transformation stage expert wouldn't able to withstand it in the slightest. Duan Ling Tian silently thought in his heart. Bang! Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian felt his entire body jolt, and his internal organs trembled. When he opened his eyes, he noticed that the sandstorm had already vanished, and only the slight breeze that blew ceaselessly remained. He didn't have the time to think about where he'd been blown to. He stood up and unclenched his fists. On the surface of his body, stands of azure energy suddenly condensed into form and suffused out. Wind force. At the same time, 2,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form above Duan Ling Tian. My wind force has finally entered the advanced stage. Duan Ling Tian's feelings surged as he revealed an expression of wild joy. He was already extremely fortunate that he didn't die from encountering the sandstorm this time. Yet he never imagined that he would actually profit from this misfortune and comprehend advanced wind force from the fierce winds in the sandstorm. Comprehending advanced wind force also meant that Duan Ling Tian's strength had advanced a level higher. After his wild joy, Duan Ling Tian calmed down. Where's little gold? Only now did Duan Ling Tian think of the little gold mouse, and he started to search around everywhere. Whirlwind! Whirlwind! Duan Ling Tian's figure flashed as he searched all around. In the end, he noticed that there wasn't a trace of the little gold mouse, and this caused him to feel rather helpless. I wonder where little gold is. Duan Ling Tian was slightly worried. Although he could confirm that the little gold mouse ought to have no been harmed by the sandstorm, but the hearts of men were dangerous. If little gold encountered other martial artists, it would be a potential danger to her. It was fine if it was a weak martial artist, but he was afraid that little gold would encounter a formidable martial artist. Presently, I utterly don't know what place this is. Duan Ling Tian looked at his surroundings, and only a boundless desert entered his eyes, a desert whose bounds were too far for the eye to see. He didn't know from which direction did the sandstorm blow him from, nor did he know where the little gold mouse was blown to now. I'll extend the area and look around the surroundings to see if I can find little gold's tracks. If it's really not possible, then I can only first leave this desert myself. Duan Ling Tian had a plan in his heart. Whoosh! Duan Ling Tian soared up into the sky with origin energy flashing beneath his legs, and his origin energy was accompanied by his advanced wind force and half-step advanced lightning force as he flew out. Even though his speed was inferior to the little gold mouse, it wasn't slow in the slightest. It wasn't long before Duan Ling Tian noticed there were people ahead. In the distance, 3 black dots had appeared in the desert before Duan Ling Tian. When he approached and took a look, it was a young girl that was a little over 20 and 2 middle-aged men. The woman wore beautiful clothes, and she obviously had an extraordinary background. As for the 2 middle-aged men, they wore similar clothes, and they were obviously the subordinates by the young girl's side. Presently, the 3 of them were fatigued from travel, and they were in an extremely sorry state. These 3 people were probably affected by the sandstorm as well. Duan Ling Tian guessed in his heart. What do the both of you want to do? Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian heard the sharp cry of the young girl. Subsequently, he saw that the middle-aged men who seemed to be subordinates had stopped the young girl from both front and back, and both of them revealed frenzied expressions. Both of you have gone mad. The young girl had a livid expression that was extremely unsightly. We haven't gone mad. One of the middle-aged men revealed a frenzied smile. Second young miss, the eldest young master usually doesn't take us to be people. Although you never said it yourself, all of us know that you never took us to be people either. Exactly. Today, the sandstorm can be considered to have fulfilled our wishes. We'll kill you, second young miss, today and seize all the wealth within your spatial ring. And from today onwards, we'll go away to a faraway place. The other middle-aged man walked step by step towards the young girl, and his eyes revealed an unusual sheen. Perhaps we don't even have to go far away. We'll say that we never saw second young miss. The sandstorm broke us up from the eldest young master, who would know that we were with second young miss. The middle-aged man before her spoke out again. Both of you, don't act recklessly. I can give both of you anything you want. So long as the both of you send me back, I can make my father and older brother reward both of you properly. The wealth within my spatial ring is limited. I can make my father and older brother reward the both of you with even more. The young girl said in panic. Second young miss, we aren't 3-year-old kids. We know that once we send you back, we're dead for sure. Second young miss, although we're greedy, we wouldn't joke around with our lives. The 2 middle-aged men obviously didn't believe the young girl, and they walked step by step closer to the young girl, and a saber appeared in their hands. Origin energy flickered on their sabers as 1,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared in the sky above them. 2 9th-level void prying stage martial artists. Duan Ling Tian looked down at the 3 people beneath his feet, and his brows raised. As for that young girl, although she didn't reveal her cultivation, Duan Ling Tian's spiritual force stretched out, and it still detected her cultivation at the first possible moment. 7th level of the nascent soul stage. Before these 2 middle-aged men, she didn't have the slightest ability to resist. Wham! Saber lights flashed out from the sabers in the hands of both the middle-aged men, and they attacked the young girl in unison. Under the pincer attack of these 2 9th-level nascent soul stage martial artists, the young girl's expression went ghastly pale, and she even forgot to resist. Humph! Right at this moment, a cold snort sounded out from the horizon. Bang! An enormous bang sounded out. The 2 middle-aged men were directly blasted flying, and they had ghastly pale expressions as they spat out blood violently before falling to the ground in a sorry state. They struggled to stand up, and their expressions were gloomy as they looked at the violet-clothed youth that stood before the young girl. Who are you? Why are you interfering in our business? One of the middle-aged men asked in a low voice. Scram! The person that lent a hand to the young girl was naturally Duan Ling Tian. Although the young girl was unrelated to Duan Ling Tian, those 2 ruthless subordinates by her side aroused disgust in Duan Ling Tian. So he lent a hand. Moreover, according to his guess, the young girl ought to be someone from the surroundings of the desert. After all, it was impossible for a nascent soul stage martial artist to rashly enter into the Darkhan dynasty's southern desert. Presumable, the young girl knew the way in the desert, and she knew how to walk out of the desert in the shortest amount of time. Walking out of the desert was the thing that Duan Ling Tian wanted to do the most right now. When the two middle-aged men heard Duan Ling Tian's stern shout, their bodies trembled, and their eyes were filled with terror. They didn't dare hesitate, and they fled away in panic. Why didn't you kill them? Right at this moment, the questioning voice of the young girl sounded out by Duan Ling Tian's ear. The young girl's voice was filled with unwillingness. Duan Ling Tian glanced indifferently at the young girl. I don't have the duty to kill them for you. Besides that, this is the attitude you have towards the person that saved your life? Although the young girl's appearance wasn't bad, she was still quite inferior when compared with his fiancés, Ku Er and Li Fei. The young girl's face froze when she heard this. Thank you, benefactor. The young girl took a deep breath and expressed her gratitude, yet a grim light was contained in the depths of her eyes. Duan Ling Tian naturally noticed this. Looks like there was a reason why those two people wanted to kill young girl. I saved her, yet she's still displeased towards me in her heart, just because I didn't kill those two subordinates. At this moment, Duan Ling Tian didn't have a favorable impression towards the young girl at all. If it wasn't for him wanting the young girl to bring him out of the desert, he would have probably left since long ago. Benefactor, I hope that you can protect me to leave the southern desert. So long as I return to my clan, I'll surely give you a generous reward as thanks. The young girl looked at Duan Ling Tian and spoke slowly. She was obviously afraid that the two middle-aged men would return. Okay. Duan Ling Tian nodded indifferently and didn't refuse. The young girl's request just happened to conform with his intentions. As for the generous reward she spoke of, he didn't care about it. When she saw Duan Ling Tian agreeing so readily, a wisp of disdain flashed imperceptibly in the depths of the young girl's eyes. Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian followed behind the young girl and headed forward with her. In next to no time, Duan Ling Tian found out about the young girl's earlier experience from her. So it turned that the young girl was returning with her older brother from a city that was at the side of the southern desert a few days ago. They had to pass through a corner of the southern desert to return home. Unexpectedly, they'd encountered a sandstorm on the way, and it broke them up. Duan Ling Tian had seen what had happened after that. Those two servants are ungrateful bastards. They eat from our Zhu clan, yet dare arouse malicious intentions towards me. They truly deserve death. When mentioning the two middle-aged men, the young girl's pretty face was filled with rage. Duan Ling Tian listened silently, and his expression remained unchanged. 5 days later, under the lead of the young girl, Duan Ling Tian finally arrived at the edge of the desert. An oasis appeared before Duan Ling Tian. The young girl looked at Duan Ling Tian and said, Duan Ling Tian, our Zhu clan is in Abundance City that's up ahead. Duan Ling Tian nodded. During these past few days, he'd found out about the young girl's identity. She was the daughter from a well-known family. Zhu Qing. Our Zhu clan is a famous great clan of Abundance City. This time, although you let those two servants go, but you saved me, after all. My father and older brought ought to not blame you. Zhu Qing said to Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian frowned. Won't blame me? And it's only an ought to? The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth curled into a cold smile. Looks like this Zhu Qing had really taken the matter of him lending a hand to save her as a matter of course. It wasn't long before a medium-sized city appeared before Duan Ling Tian's eyes. The reason this city was medium to him was that it was bigger than many of the cities that Duan Ling Tian had seen, yet it was smaller than many cities. Abundance City. Duan Ling Tian followed behind Zhu Qing and walked into Abundance City. In next to no time, the two of them arrived before an estate that occupied a vast area. Duan Ling Tian's gaze was sharp, and with a glance, he'd seen the plaque that hung on the door to the estate. Zhu Clan. Second young miss. Meanwhile, the two guards outside the Zhu Clan estate's door revealed a pleasantly surprised expression when they saw Zhu Qing. Second young miss, you're finally returned. The patriarch and eldest young master almost went mad with anxiety during these past 2 days, said one of the guards. Zhu Qing nodded and brought Duan Ling Tian along to walk into the Zhu clan estate. At the audience hall of the Zhu clan estate, Duan Ling Tian saw the Zhu clan's patriarch and the Zhu clan's eldest young master. Father, Zhu Qing threw herself into the Zhu clan patriarch's embrace, and her tears dropped down like the rain. Your daughter was almost unable to see father again. Zhu Qing emitted sobbing sounds as she spoke. The Zhu clan patriarch's face went gloomy. Qing, exactly what happened? Qing, was it this kid that bullied you? The Zhu clan's eldest young master looked at Duan Ling Tian instead, and his gaze revealed a cold light as he stared at Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian frowned. If he wanted to harm Zhu Qing, then at the instant he walked out of the desert and Zhu Qing had lost any value to him, he would have already killed Zhu Qing. Father, it was Wang Zhu and Li Gong. After the sandstorm broke me and Big Brother up, that Wang Zhu and Li Gong were at my side. They wanted to kill me and seize my spatial ring. As she finished speaking, Zhu Qing's tears dripped down to the ground. What? Those two servants were so audacious. The Zhu clan's patriarch and eldest young master had enraged expression. The Zhu clan's eldest young master's eyes even shot out ghastly cold lights. Damnable servants. So in this way, it was he who saved you. The Zhu clan patriarch looked at Duan Ling Tian with a calm gaze, and it was as if he wasn't facing the person that had saved his daughter's life, but more like he was facing a stranger. Yes. Zhu Qing nodded. Did he kill that Wang Zhu and Li Gong for you? The Zhu clan eldest young master asked. Zhu Qing shook her head. No. The Zhu clan's patriarch and eldest young master's expressions became grim in unison. After they found out about the sequence of events, they wished for nothing more than to tear two Zhu clan servants into pieces. Now, when they heard someone had let those two servants go, boundless flames of rage arose in both of their hearts. Why did you let them go? The Zhu clan's eldest young master looked at Duan Ling Tian as he asked with a low voice. His words had no lack of a questioning tone. Although the Zhu clan's patriarch didn't speak, the gaze he shot at Duan Ling Tian had become slightly colder. At this moment, this pair of father and son seemed to have completely forgotten that if it wasn't for Duan Ling Tian lending a hand, the Zhu clan's young miss, Zhu Qing, would have already become a soul under the sabers of those two Zhu clan servants. Duan Ling Tian frowned when he heard the questioning tone in the Zhu clan's eldest young master's words, and he said indifferently, "Who I let go doesn't seem to be your business, right? It's naturally none of my business if you let any other person off. But you let off two servants that wanted to kill my sister, and it's undoubtedly an act of looking down on my Zhu clan." The Zhu clan's eldest young master shouted with a grim voice. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but be stunned when he heard the words of the Zhu clan's eldest young master. When he saved Zhu Qing, he seemed to have utterly not know of the existence of the Zhu clan, right? Moreover, even if he knew of the existence of the Zhu clan, then so what about it? Is it the place of the Zhu clan to dictate how he does things? Zhu clan's eldest young master, right? Duan Ling Tian looked calmly at the Zhu clan's eldest young master, and he said in a clear voice, "Don't you forget that if I didn't lend a hand, this sister of yours would have already died in the desert now. Yet now, you're denouncing my crimes." Duan Ling Tian's words caused the expression of the Zhu clan's eldest young master to freeze, yet the rage in his eyes didn't show any signs of dispersing. "Not to mention, I didn't know of the existence of your Zhu clan before this. Even if I did, then so what if I look down on your Zhu clan?" Duan Ling Tian continued. As he finished speaking, Duan Ling Tian has an expression of ridicule. Could it be that a clan that treats a benefactor like this wants others to respect them? Laughable. Laughable. Duan Ling Tian's words caused the Zhu clan's patriarch and the others to be dumbstruck. You're courting death." The Zhu clan's eldest young master was the first to recover from his shock. The origin energy on his body skyrocketed, and his imposing manner shot into the sky like a rainbow as he charged towards Duan Ling Tian. In the sky, 4,000 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. Third level of the void prying stage? The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth revealed a wisp of disdain. Enough. It was at this moment that an indifferent voice sounded out. It was the Zhu clan's patriarch that had stopped his son. "He's right. He saved your sister's life. After all, and our Zhu clan can't treat a benefactor like this." Although the Zhu clan's patriarch said this, the gaze he shot at Duan Ling Tian was icy cold and indifferent to the extreme, and he had an overbearing expression. "Humph." The Zhu clan's eldest young master snorted coldly, and then he glared at Duan Ling Tian. "Count yourself lucky. I thank you for saving my daughter's life. The Zhu clan's patriarch nodded to Duan Ling Tian, and then he said indifferently, "But we still have some business to attend to. I'm afraid we can't entertain you any longer. Please show yourself out." Duan Ling Tian started laughing. Initially, he'd indeed intended to turn around and leave. But the attitude of the Zhu clan father and son had caused him to feel extreme displeasure. Saving a person, yet it caused a problem for me? If the Zhu clan's patriarch had politely asked him to leave, he wouldn't say a single word and leave, and he'd absolutely not stay for a single moment longer. After all, he'd never thought of getting any benefit from the Zhu clan. But the Zhu clan's current attitude caused him to feel that if he didn't take some benefits from them, then it would seem to be unworthy of the Zhu clan's warm reception. Zhu clan's young Mississippi. Duan Ling Tian looked at Zhu Qing, who stood nearby with a cold and indifferent expression, and he grinned. "If memory serves, after I saved you that day, you'd once promised me that after I send you back to the Zhu clan, you'd surely give me a generous reward. Now, I've sent you home. Shouldn't you fulfill your promise and give me a generous reward?" Duan Ling Tian spoke word by word. "I presume that Zhu clan's young miss wouldn't go back on her promise, right? You. Zhu Qing's pretty face flushed red, yet she was at a loss for words. She seemed to have indeed promised this, yet all this was only the polite words she'd spoken at that time. She had an extremely complicated feeling towards the benefactor that let off the two servants that wanted to kill her, and she'd never thought of generously rewarding this benefactor. Now, the young man had raised this matter himself, and it caused her to be both angry and irritated. There's actually such a thick-skinned person in this world. Duan Ling Tian's words caused the faces of the Zhu clan's patriarch and eldest young master to sink. "Kid, you arbitrarily let off those two filthy servants that wanted to kill my sister, yet you still want my Zhu clan to generously reward you?" The Zhu clan's eldest young master spoke with a low voice. His tone contained explosive rage. "Zhu clan eldest young master, your words are a mistake." Duan Ling Tian shook his head. "Zhu clan eldest young master, think about it properly. Saving your sister is already an extremely great favor to your Zhu clan. As for if I killed those two people or not, that isn't my duty. Of course, if your Zhu clan feels that the life of your young miss isn't worth anything and don't reward me generously, it's fine as well. I'll leave right away." Duan Ling Tian glanced indifferently at the Zhu clan's patriarch and eldest young master, and the corners of his mouth curled into a ridiculing smile as he turned around and intended to leave. Wait. Right at this moment, the Zhu clan's patriarch had a gloomy expression as he stopped Duan Ling Tian. "Zhu clan's patriarch, is there anything you need?" Duan Ling Tian turned around and asked indifferently. "Although my Zhu clan isn't a famous clan in the Darkhan dynasty, it isn't a clan that doesn't know how to repay another's kindness. Speak. How do you want my Zhu clan to thank you?" The Zhu clan's patriarch spoke word by word with a low voice. "Zhu clan's patriarch, you're straightforward as expected." Duan Ling Tian smiled. "How about this? I won't be greedy. Just give me 100 million gold." Duan Ling Tian's voice entered the ears of the three Zhu clan members, causing them to seem as if they were struck by lightning, and they were stunned on the spot. 100 million gold? He said he won't be greedy? "Kid, don't push your luck." The Zhu clan's eldest young master shouted out angrily. Duan Ling Tian paid no attention to the Zhu clan's eldest young master. He looked at the Zhu clan's patriarch instead and smiled lightly. "What? Patriarch Zhu, you think your daughter's life isn't worth 100 million gold? Never mind. Since the Zhu clan's young miss is so cheap in your eyes, Patriarch Zhu, then take it as I never said anything." Duan Ling Tian shook his head, and then he casually waved his hand before walking out. The Zhu clan's patriarch's expression flickered between a livid and ashen expression. Zhu Qing stood at the side with an extremely unsightly expression. Never had she imagined that the violet-clothed young man that saved her would actually demand such an exorbitant price. 100 million gold. Although it wouldn't be to the extent of injuring the Zhu clan greatly, it was still an extremely large amount of wealth that was sufficient to make their hearts ache. Wait. Finally, the Zhu clan's patriarch spoke out with an extremely low and deep voice. "Father." The Zhu clan eldest young master went gloomy. Although this kid saved Zhu Qing, he let go those two damnable slaves. It at most is considered as his merits offset his faults. There's no need for you to give him so much money. Merits offset faults? At the instant that the Zhu clan's patriarch spoke out, Duan Ling Tian had stopped moving, and now that he heard the words of the Zhu clan's eldest young master, his face instantly seemed to be covered in a layer of ice. Now, he suddenly felt that his actions earlier might have been slight wishful thinking of his own. At that time, even if he watched idly by as Zhu Qing was killed, it wouldn't affect him in the slightest. It wasn't only Zhu Qing that he could rely on to leave the desert. So long as he coerced those two Zhu clan servants, they would similarly bring him out of the desert. Enough. If it wasn't for him, your sister would have died long ago. The Zhu clan's patriarch raised his hand to stop his son, and then he withdrew a thick stack of gold bills from his spatial ring. This is 100 million gold. Our Zhu clan doesn't owe you anything from today onwards. Thank you, Patriarch Zhu. The ice of Duan Ling Tian's face instantly melted when he saw the gold passed over by the Zhu clan's patriarch, and he bluntly received it and put it away in the spatial ring. This caused the nearby Zhu clan's eldest young master to gnash his teeth with hatred, whereas Zhu Qing's pretty face was unsightly to the extreme as well. That was 100 million gold. Eldest young master and young miss of the Zhu clan, goodbye. Before Duan Ling Tian left, he intentionally bid his farewells to the two people before walking off with large strides. For a time, only the three Zhu clan members who each had thoughts of their own in their hearts remained on the spot. After Duan Ling Tian left the Zhu clan, he breathed out a breath of air as his face revealed a brilliant smile. I truly never imagined that just lifting a finger allowed me to earn 100 million gold. I wonder where exactly in the Darkhan dynasty is this abundance city. When Duan Ling Tian thought about this, he started to ask for information all around the city. In the end, he finally confirmed that the abundance city was situated at the southwest area of the Darkhan dynasty, and it was neighboring to the southern desert. After Little Gold and I entered the Darkhan dynasty, we entered the southern area of the Darkhan dynasty. Looks like that sandstorm forcefully blew me to the southwest area. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. Although the Darkstone Empire has the map of the Darkhan dynasty, but it isn't very detailed. This place is within the Darkhan dynasty, and I ought to be able to buy a more reliable map. After searching for some time, Duan Ling Tian finally bought a map of the Darkhan dynasty from a bookshop in Abundance City. The map even contained the symbol of the Abundance City that he was in now. In the entire territory of the Darkhan dynasty, the Abundance City was only an existence that was smaller than an ant. My destination this time is the most luxurious trade city of the Darkhan dynasty, Milky Way City. This is something that Little Gold knows as well. Perhaps I'll be able to encounter Little Gold there. Duan Ling Tian put away the map in his hand and intended to leave Abundance City to head towards Milky Way City. But he hadn't even walked out of the city gate when Duan Ling Tian noticed that he was being followed. Zhu clan members? Duan Ling Tian frowned. Besides the Zhu clan, he couldn't think of anyone that would want to target him. They probably aren't sent over by the Zhu clan's patriarch. If the Zhu clan's patriarch wanted to deal with me, he would have made a move in the Zhu clan estate earlier, and it would have been impossible for him to give me the 100 million gold. Duan Ling Tian thought in his heart. It ought to be that Zhu clan's eldest young master, or perhaps the Zhu clan's young miss, Zhu Qing, that sent them. The possibility that it's the Zhu clan's eldest young master is greater.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.